Happy Friday, everybody. I am Chris Gore. This is Film Thread. Thank you for joining us on a Friday morning. It is 9 a.m. Pacific time here, maybe a little after 9. Sorry, we started late today. I haven't had this coffee yet, and I desperately need it. I hope you're doing well. Today is a big show. We're going to be talking about Terror on the Prairie with Gina, Carano, Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear movie. We're also going to be discussing The Black Phone, and I can't wait to talk about that. Also, we have interviews today. We're bringing on some filmmakers on the show. Escape the Field director Emeron Moore is joining us, and Brian and Charles, which just came out yesterday as well. We have the screenwriter David Earl and the producer Rupert Manjendie are also going to be joining us. Yeah, it's going to be, we might get 3 hours out of today. So buckle yourselves in. Let's get started. And Alan's waiting in the wings. He's chomping at the bit to get on the show right now. So let's get started. Welcome to the Film Threat Livecast on a Friday. Hey, Alan.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, you still have, your room is still pink. You still have pink.
It's gonna be pink for a while, but you can see I got my my Rise of Skywalker poster up there.
That's great, Alan. That's great. And you can sell that for nothing dollars on eBay, I'm pretty sure. Well, at least the color scheme matches the background for Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear movie, which is now out. And we're going to talk about that soon. What else is going on? There's a lot going on at Film Threat. I want to get the plugs in. I want to give people a chance to actually, join the chat and whatnot. So as people pile in and we'll see who's here with us today. What's been happening on filmthreat.com? I know you were at the, wait a sec. Okay. You were at the Mendocino Film Festival. Am I correct? Did you tell me the gas there was $10?
Yes. In fact, there's an article in the local paper that Mendocino, there's a single gas station, the Chevron, that is the most expensive gas in the country, and it was $10. And surprisingly, I never saw anyone pump gas at that gas station.
So it's just sitting there with no customers.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great.
But I mean, Mendocino, where I was, it's what you call a classic small town, small kind of port town, and so the roads aren't exactly paved. But there's a great feeling there, great small town feeling, along with just a spectacular view of the ocean.
Nice. Well, real quick, I want to remind you to support us and buy something at our shop, the Film Threat. You can go to shop.filmthreat.com and get yourself a little Film Threat mug there. You can get yourself a Film Threat t-shirt like the one I am wearing right here. There you go. This is our it's a pink bar of soap with the Film Threat logo on it. Perhaps you know where that's from. So that's one way you can support us. Hey, you can support us just by joining the conversation. And if you would like, let's say you're strapped for cash because you're spending way too much money on gas. Well, guess what? I'll give you something for free. If you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Threat 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036, I'll send you a free Film Threat sticker. Put it on your car, your computer, wherever you want. I'll give you a stick. In fact, if you put more postage on, the more postage you put on and the bigger the envelope you send me, the more stuff I'll send you. I've even got a couple t-shirts sitting here that I could send to you. Hopefully you're an XL, or I'll send you other stuff, maybe even some DVDs. We get DVDs in for review. I'll send you the ones when we're done with them. I'll send you some movies is what I'm going to do. So do that. And then also as a reminder, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow this channel. That is what we're trying to do because we want to build our audience to have a conversation with all of you here. And follow us. We're Film Threat on everything. Alan, is there anything I forgot?
Visit filmthreat.com. We have a lot of reviews going up today. A lot of films coming out. We're also covering Dances with Films and Tribeca Film Festival as well, and some really cool films coming out of those.
Yeah, 2 film festivals happening at the same time, which is kind of, I know, driving Alan crazy. So
yeah, which is why I haven't gone to it, because the trip to Hollywood is not something I look forward to anymore.
Exactly. Well, that's a whole other thing. And
Yeah.
one final reminder, subscribe to our Film Threat email newsletter. You'll get alerts like this, like an alert right now you would have received if you had subscribed that tells you that we're live right now. And here's the link. Join us. So we do that. Yeah. So subscribe to the newsletter. It's easy. It's filmthreat.com/newsletter. That's all you got to do. All right. Let's see who's in the chat before we start talking about Lightyear. Who's here today? All right, we have Dempsey's here, Patrick Lemire, Flaccid Phoenix, of course. Subscribe to Flaccid Phoenix's YouTube channel. Great video essays there, including a review of RRR that you have to see. So there you go. And let's see, Kevin Rubio is here. Hell was here. Wes RM1 is here. ABC Cinema. Lots of people are here. This is great. The jaded filmmaker, Solomon Thornton. Jack D. Ripper is back. I'm sure Jack D. Ripper will have some great questions for our interview subjects today. But I'm going to go to a couple of these chat things before we go. It says, Flaccid Phoenix says, don't drop the Film Threat soap. Okay. Dempsey says, it is a great day for Film Threat. Like that slap button. Wait, what? Don't you mean slap that like button? Like this? Oh, wow. That's what I think you meant. Patrick Lemire says, I guess California has not waived its gasoline taxes. At least New York waived state gas tax.
Yeah. Not only have we not waived the gas tax, but we have a budget surplus, meaning they're collecting more money than they're spending.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a whole other, I mean,
Yeah.
it has definitely changed my behavior in terms of like, am I going to go do this thing, or I'll try to combine all of my trips into one day of going out? Like I got to go here and there, whatever. So although can I tell you, I use 3 different methods to save on gas. One, I use a very specific credit card that I get 3% back. So that saves me probably 18 cents a gallon, right? Then I use the Upside app. I know you've probably heard about it from other channels. And I'm not trying to I'm trying to say that I actually have saved money with the Upside app. Then ExxonMobil has its own ExxonMobil rewards. I use that. I combine all 3 of these things and I save about 40 cents a gallon. This is where my brain is right now.
I also like drafting behind semis. So that
Patrick Lemire says the Zodiac used too much postage. Maybe he's a Film Threat fan. True. I posted someone on our someone tweeted at us that, you know, they received their package and got a bunch of free stuff. It's like, yeah, the bigger the envelope, the more postage you put on. So I can throw DVDs in there. I can throw t-shirts. We get a lot of stuff sent to us and I like to just give it away. So definitely send us one of those self-addressed stamped envelopes. Wes RM1 says, why didn't they cast Tim Allen to voice the character, or did Tim Allen turn it down? We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
ABC Cinema, not seen Lightyear, but I'm interested to hear people's opinions on it. And Kevin Rubio, always trying to stir things up, my friend Kevin. What's with the clickbait title? Kevin, clickbait titles, you clicked on it because it's a clickbait. It's clickbait for a reason. I think Obi-Wan Can Blow Me was probably the better one. You might have missed that one. That was on Wednesday. Come on, Kevin. Yeah, I know you have a sense of humor because I know you. We're just trying to have fun. We're just trying to have fun here. I thought you were about trying to find the positive, and here you guys are forecasting doom before Lightyear has even been out one day. I mean, dude, like, come on.
It's clickbait.
Kevin, you haven't heard the review yet. That's just the clickbaity title to get you to watch. And by the way, we are about positivity because where there are, I mean, I haven't talked about the black phone yet, but I have only positive things to say about that. I cannot wait to talk about it because I was very personally affected by it. And I'll tell you why when we get to it. The other thing is positivity. We always try to offer other choices. It's like, yeah, okay, Jurassic World Dominion may not be great. Here's other indie movies you can go see. Film Thread is about telling the truth and also being positive. So
instead of seeing Jurassic World Dominion, see Jurassic Shark. Yeah,
see Jurassic Shark or Ouija Shark or Noah's Shark. There's all sorts of other ones. So Kevin, come on. I've been doing this the same way forever. We kind of poke fun, lampoon, and we expose Hollywood and all that, while simultaneously we talk about other options for movies you should see, like the indie movies we're going to talk about today, Brian and Charles and Escape the Field. So Hell was here. Lightyear is the most average Pixar movie to date, and it's politically compromised, which I'm not a fan because it's a kid's movie. Well, we'll discuss. We're going to get into it very quickly. Solomon Thornton, can we just say that Top Gun Maverick and RR are probably the biggest movies of the year? 100%. Those are on. I have a top 10 list, but I only have so far this year 5 movies on that list. I'll list them off later in the show. But yeah, those 2 are on my list, and I'm really glad to see more and more people discover RRR and completely misinterpret it. We're going to do a more extended deep dive review of RRR. And for Kevin Rubio that thinks we're always negative, Kevin, have you seen RRR? You should see it. I talk about it every show. There you go. Grumpy Old Slan. I hear good things about Lightyear to Infinity and Beyond. Okay. Hey, Chris, did you get that thing I sent you? It says Rotten Tanuki. What did you send me? Did you send me a self-addressed envelope?
What's that thing that was addressed from Rotten Tanuki?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I did. I'm so sorry. Maybe be more specific and I'll let you know. Omar 94. I'm still debating whether to see Lightyear. Okay, we're going to end that debate. So does Lightyear make you guys excited for a Woody movie show? Well, if they go the route of Lightyear, they're just going to call the movie Woody, which I think will be great. Why don't they just do Woody? Someone should do a poster.
Yeah.
We should do a post. It just says Woody, but like do it in the style of Lightyear. So thank you for that comment.
I mean, that's a hard title to get into.
Patrick Lemire says, I do not like the way Pixar treated Tim Allen. Now they have Chris Evans who speaks on message. Yeah. There you go. Latino Slant. Paulie, hey, how's it going? Our taco eating contest. Yeah, why not? We could do that.
There were tacos in RRR?
No, there weren't. But there's Natu. Do you know Natu?
I'll try that.
The Jaded Filmmaker, RRR, is finally on our Netflix. Gonna watch with the wife, though. Pretend I'm cultured. You don't have to pretend. She's gonna love it. She is gonna love it. It's amazing. So the Blockbuster guy says, I swear, every time I join the chat, RRR is being brought up. Blockbuster guy, I'm sorry. I didn't bring it up this time. I didn't bring it up. So the chat brought it up. You brought it up. Ken Bogus, my guest, Alan, who is a paid shill for Disney, will like Lightyear.
Yeah, I think we've already established that one.
Yeah. I want to get those big Disney bucks that Alan's getting.
Those Disney dollars.
Yeah. Woody would be a bait and switch starring Jesse. That's true, says the Jaded Filmmaker. Akanika, how is the Death of Star Wars trial coming along? Oh, we're setting that up. It's going to be post the last episode of Kenobi. Disney's Woody, says Luke Deckard, the professional human. Toxic Waltz N8 is back. Says Lightyear takes place in an alternate 2015 where Reagan was never elected. Well, there you go. I like that comment. Cubicle Media, what year does Lightyear take place? 1995. It takes place in 1995. That is when I say it takes place then. We should.
You want to save this for the formal review, or
let's get into the formal review. Thank you, Cubicle Media, and we will get back to your comments here as Flaccid Phoenix is starring all these comments, and we'll get to those. But let's get started officially with our. Wait, I have to edit this for a second because it's not correct. So, but we appreciate. We've got like, oh my gosh, we're closing in on 200 people watching live. Please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Hope you enjoy what you're watching. But let's get into this. Lightyear. Lightyear is here. It is a Disney Pixar movie. It is set in the year 1995. Now, when I say it's set in the year 1995, it's actually technically not set in the year 1995. Lightyear is the movie that Andy, the kid, saw when he was a kid and became a fan of Buzz Lightyear from going to see that movie. And the movie was made, as we're told in a beginning little paragraph, this is the movie that Andy saw in the year 1995.
I think more specifically, it's the movie that inspired the Buzz Lightyear toy that Andy bought and played with.
But Andy also saw the movie, and that's how he became a fan of Buzz Lightyear. In any case, so technically, in the fiction of the movie Lightyear, it's set in the distant future, if you will. Effectively, Buzz Lightyear is what is it? He's a ranger.
He's a galactic ranger.
Galactic ranger. And his commander, what's her name? You've got IMDb.
Alicia.
Up there, huh? Yeah.
Alicia, I forget the last name.
Well, he's her commander, and it's and what happens is they're seeking out a planet to settle. You have all of these people that are in suspended animation. Buzz Lightyear is the pilot, trying to safely get them to the planet. And if this is considered, this is all happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Okay. First 10 minutes of the movie, and they're trying to successfully find a habitable world. The world that they land on in the beginning is not really safe. They attempt to leave the planet, and Buzz Lightyear makes a critical error in piloting the ship off world and crash lands the ship back on the planet. And they're forced to learn to survive on the planet while Buzz Lightyear is testing a new hyperspace engine, right? Is it what do they call
Hyperdrive.
it? Hyperdrive engine. In order to get them off world, they have to rebuild the hyperdrive engine. But each trip he makes in a test trip sends him kind of years in the future. So he goes off, and for him, it's just minutes. And for everyone else, it's, 2 years, then like 10 years, and then decades, right? So each trip with the hyperspace drive continues. He doesn't age, but everyone on the planet who's begun to settle and try to this planet is not perfectly habitable. There are all sorts of dangerous tentacled creatures, all sorts of ways to die. They somehow find a way to survive and thrive under a protective gate. But Buzz Lightyear is obsessed with correcting this mistake. He made a critical mistake. He's not going to let it go. And he keeps testing out this drive as everyone around him ages older and older. And let me just say, I don't want to get too much more into the story. That's just sort of the setup. And I will say this spoiler is actually kind of leaked already, as Zurg is in the movie.
Yes. Well, I mean, Zurg had to be in the movie.
Zurg had to be in the movie.
He's the villain.
We don't want to reveal. There are major spoilers at the end. We're not going to get into those. We're going to come up to like story-wise about the first half of the movie. But my overall impressions may surprise you. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Lightyear. Entertaining as hell. And a lot of people are going to say like, oh, is it woke? Is it this? Is it whatever? Is it? No, there is no like, no one Lightyear as a galactic ranger, space ranger, whatever you want to say. He's better than everybody else. That's the whole thing. And it ends up, there's just one thing about this movie that is completely unnecessary. And I
was going to say for a second that Disney emailed me and wanted to know where to send you a check. But I think you're going to ruin that in just a moment.
Okay. But like, before we get into the problems I have with this film, because what's weird is it's like, I was actually sitting there kind of beside myself going, oh, I'm really enjoying this. This is like really fun. The action is clever. The characterizations, there are this group that Buzz Lightyear is saddled with later in the movie, which is the granddaughter of Alicia, the commander, right?
Yeah.
And that's her. First he thinks like, hey, is that, you look very familiar. It's like, no, it's the granddaughter. And she's completely incompetent. She doesn't know anything. She's terrible. Doesn't have experience. And Buzz Lightyear's just sort of like, oh my God, I'm stuck with a bunch of, just incompetent idiots. So nothing in this movie is made to kind of drag him down. He's the best of the best. And he has to solve the problem with kind of what he's given, what he's saddled with, right? Mm-hmm. Having said that, Alan, before we get into the problems, I want to get your overall impression, because you gave an early reaction to it and you really liked it. And I didn't believe you. And then I saw it and I'm like, oh, this movie's actually really fun. But there's one thing that really stood out.
There's the Batman moment.
There is the Batman moment.
Sends everyone into a tizzy.
Right. Like, okay, I was really enjoying the Batman until right in the middle of the movie when they had to remind you of what's happening in modern day.
Yeah.
And like,
at least they brought that moment in the beginning of the movie so you can get over it and then kind of go with the rest of the film, which has really nothing to
Well,
do with that
I
moment.
want to talk about that
Yeah.
moment for a minute,
We
but
will.
I want to get your overall impressions, and then I want to talk about the problems with Lightyear.
Yeah.
But in general, guess what, folks? I really enjoyed it, and I probably recommend it. And we'll talk about. I know there's a lot of chat questions. We're going to get to them, but
Yeah.
Alan, your impressions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, walking out of Lightyear was let's just say, let's not talk about the moment, but overall, I just walked away with this refreshing feeling of, wow, this is what I remember Pixar being, way back in Toy Story. I mean, it is full of the standard Pixar storytelling devices, such as, if Buzz Lightyear can do this, then he can rescue everybody and everything will be fine. And if you've ever watched a Pixar movie, that it's not going to happen. That at the last moment it gets spoiled and he has to go in some other direction. And then, so it's that's Pixar, and that's what makes Pixar exciting. Is this you're just so invested in the story and in the characters, and when the heroes are about to vanquish to overcome their adversity, vanquish their foes, something comes in the way and spoils everything. I think about that moment in Toy Story 3 where all the toys are linked together, about to be incinerated, and I thought to myself, oh my God, they're actually going to kill these toys. That's just how good Pixar is at storytelling, and this harkens back to it. And I kept thinking, when was the last time I had this much fun at a Pixar movie? Onward was kind of there, but I definitely didn't like Soul. Turning Red was, what it was. Luca, fun little story about kids, but I'm finally glad to have an action adventure, a space action adventure back that is fun, is just littered with humor, and something I'm definitely going to see again.
Well, it's like you said, it's fun. You've got spaceships, creatures and aliens, lasers, battling robots. They have this thing, it's almost kind of like a lightsaber that's like a thing that they hold that has like a lightsaber thing they used to cut
like a laser knife.
Like a laser knife. It's I wouldn't call it a laser sword. I'd call it a laser knife. That's what I would call it.
Yeah, because they wouldn't just call it a knife. That's the thing.
No, they wouldn't just call it a ladder. They would call it a space ladder. And they wouldn't just say that Han Solo and General Leia got divorced. They got space divorced. Anyways, I had to bring up Star Wars because...
let me talk about Zurg for a second. I mean, again, I think for some reason Disney doesn't like villains anymore. They're either trying to reform them or not have them at all. This has a villain, Zurg, and, I should have seen it coming, but I was very surprised and very delighted as to who Zurg was.
Well, you can probably guess who Zurg was, and this is going to be potential mild spoilers here for anybody watching, listening, so hopefully you've seen it or whatever, but mild. The movie to me reminded me of the plot of the Lost in Space movie, the one with William Hurt. What year was that? Can you look that up?
Oh,
so the William
Hurt, that had to be in like the early 2000s.
Yeah. So basically Lightyear lifted the spine of its story and big plot twists from the Lost in Space movie with William Hurt. What year was that?
Okay,
you're gonna look it up. Oh wait,
honestly, I thought you were gonna say that
1998. It was 1998.
Yeah. So I thought you were gonna say that Zurg was Thanos' father.
No, but okay. Now let's get into so the actual adventure, the fun, like Buzz Lightyear is kind of saddled with this crew, to battle Zurg, and it's literally Buzz Lightyear alone, Rambo style, trying to battle Zurg and an army of robots. And he has 3 people from this settlement, and they're the worst people he could possibly be saddled with. And one is played by Taika Waititi, who's a complete incompetent idiot. One is the granddaughter of his commander/friend, and she has no experience in space combat whatsoever. The other one is an older ex-con. And the trio it's hilarious. And so Buzz Lightyear's kind of like rolling his eyes, like, why am I stuck with these people? Like, it's like, and they kind of like also hamper what he's trying. He has a goal, and it's like he's kind of stuck with them, right? So that so many great moments for humor from that. But let's talk about the thing that everyone's going to talk about, which is the fact that Buzz Lightyear, and the thing is this, Buzz Lightyear, he has this relationship with his commander. They were together in like the academy. She like saw something in him and they became like really good friends. She gives him this cat Socks, and we can't undersell Socks the cat, just as a dog is in the background of Alan. Alan, there's a
Oh yes.
yeah. All right, fine. It's harmless. In any case, so like, the commander's like, okay, you're lone. Every time you go on one of these missions, you're kind of losing time to have some consistency. Here's a cat named Socks, and it's a robot cat. And Socks really plays into the story in like a great way later. I don't want to ruin that aspect, but the thing that is kind of unnecessary about this movie is the fact that the commander, and there's a really touching scene with the commander. You're like, oh, they have this like great friendship. Having said that, it's just completely unnecessary in the reveal that you find out this isn't a surprise. She's a lesbian. And this is now the second Disney movie I've seen in the course of a couple months where there's like two moms. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, this is the third Pixar movie with two moms.
Is it really the third Pixar movie?
Toy Story 4 had a gay same-sex marriage there. Onward definitely had it, and then now this one.
So that not so secret agenda that they keep talking about, it's right there. And you know what? It adds nothing to the story, is completely irrelevant. You could cut it out and you wouldn't miss it. And all it's going to do, if you take young kids to it, they might be confused as to why two moms, and you might have to ask yourself this question too, because I asked myself this question. So you see, he comes back and it's like Buzz Lightyear comes back and the commander's there and it's like, oh, I found someone. I met this woman, blah, blah, blah. They got married. Then you come back and they have like a young son. And okay, so they had to find a way to conceive the son. And so have yourself that conversation, like, I don't know. I'm like sitting there going, okay, I don't know, who's, I'm trying to remember who carried the baby. If they revealed
I don't know. I mean, if
I don't remember that
carries on the Hawthorne name, which is
exactly,
then I don't know.
It's all,
I'm sure
like,
it's worked out somehow.
All confusing, unnecessary. It's a very short part of the film. I will say that it's probably under a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe a little over.
The kiss is literally a second, less than a second.
Yeah, but it's like there's okay, you don't need any of it. Like everything else about this movie, I'm going to heap on praise. And the thing is this, people are going to go like, oh, you're such a what? Like, look, I don't care. It didn't ruin my enjoyment of the movie, and I actually don't care. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm taking a young child to this movie. We're going to have a conversation. I don't need Disney to force this conversation on me. And by the way, when my kids were young, with gay friends, we would explain. My kids didn't care. All I'm saying is that, and it's much easier to have those conversations with actual people rather than something that's in a movie. I'm just saying, I want to decide when to have those conversations with my kids. I don't want Disney to decide for me, right? It's unnecessary. You don't need it. And again, all it does is reinforce all the people that say, Disney has agendas. They're telling us, and it's right there. And like you said, this is the third Pixar movie with two moms. Got a Marvel movie. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand what's happening. It's just, you know what it is? It's fucking annoying. It's fucking annoying. It's like the movie is great. And this part of it you didn't need. And if you cut it out, you're not going to miss it. And there are a growing list of countries that aren't carrying this movie. And I don't think the scene is even that bad. It's played in a really interesting way of time kind of progressing quickly, because every time Buzz Lightyear does one of these hyper space, hyperspeed test trips, he comes back, everyone's older. So you see them progressing quickly and he's just the same. Right.
Yeah.
and there's a toll that is taken because of that, because of his. But this, I don't know how you feel about it. I mean,
let me,
Alan, my kids are grown and older and whatever.
Yeah, and my kid is in that, is a little bit older than the age you're talking about, and but I take a very different perspective on that, because the whole LGBT, the gay marriage issue is something that I had personally been involved in and fought for way back when Prop 8 came out. If for any of you Californians out there know what I'm talking about. But there came a point in my life, especially as being a conservative evangelical at that time, where it was like, this whole gay issue was something that was really weighing on my heart, in the sense of, I don't think we're handling this right. I don't think as Christians we're this war that we've created with the LGBT community, I think has done nothing but harm and divided us. And I feel like, so when this moment came up in the movie and my daughter was sitting next to me, the thing that I thought about was, this is an expression of the reality that I currently live in. I mean, I don't want to say it flippantly, but I do have gay friends. I have very good gay friends. I have at least 3 sets of friends who are married and have children. In fact, my daughter, my daughter and I, we spent a day at Disneyland, ironically, with one of my gay couples, and she was hanging out with them. So this idea of having to explain it to her, well, that was explained to her. She was exposed to it long ago, years ago, when I think she was 7 at the time. And so this is not something new to her. This is not something that I had to explain. And quite frankly, there've always, all my life, it was like, oh, I want to see Asians in a movie. I want to see at least some Asian character in it. And I feel like for at least the LGBT community, this is that moment for them. And so I'm not bothered by it. I feel like if it were an agenda, it would be a little more impactful. I think I've asked the question several years ago at the Woke Disney, or at the Has Hollywood Gone Woke panel we did at WonderCon. And it was after an article I'd written about woke Disney and the destruction of his legacy. But I posed the question, are we ready yet for a LGBT princess from Disney? And I think when we get into that territory, that's when the real discussions are going to happen. And that's when Disney's going to really find out how much people are going to embrace this messaging or not. And we did that panel how many years ago? 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, we did. I mean, we've done. It's a subject that's come up, but even though sometimes I pitch it to cons and they don't want to do it.
Yeah,
they don't want to do this.
I think WonderCon barely wanted to do it.
Yeah, WonderCon, and then we just did.
Oh no, it was LA Comic-Con. I'm sorry, it was LA.
Yeah, LA Comic-Con actually was at the end of last year, and I do believe that Star Wars girl posted the video of that channel. She didn't ask me; she just filmed it and put it on. I was just like, I don't care. It's fine. Yeah. More people can see it. I think she may have asked a question, but if you go to that Star Wars girl's channel, she posted the panel that we did. That what was the title of the panel? It wasn't.
It was
Hollywood Gone Woke.
It was
something
I think it was that. Something to that.
Something
nature.
Like that. Anyways, the panel was at LA Comic-Con. You can check that out. But yeah, it's just I want to go to a movie that doesn't have an agenda for me. There should be one thing at the top of the agenda, that's entertain me because I gave you money. And it's not, I'm giving you money and then, oh, by the way, throw some messaging my way. I don't like that. I don't like it. And I think it happens so often now. It's
exhausting. I know
it's exhausting. And now it's put parents on guard. Now for me, look, my kids are older. I don't have to worry about it. They make their own choices. In fact, my daughter and I, we go to see movies together. She refuses to see this movie, by the way, because Tim Allen's not in it.
Oh, we should speak to that at some point.
Well, people are asking in the chat. But it's just like, you don't need this. You don't need it. You don't need it. It's just, you could just say she has a granddaughter. We don't even need to explain how she got there. She just had a granddaughter. But the fact that there have been so many Disney properties now that have 2 moms, it's a complete, I just don't like that. And also there's been an erosion of fathers as they're portrayed in entertainment. Carrie Smith, who's in Austin, Texas, she has a She has, I think her channel is called Deprogrammed. In fact, I think I'm going to do her show next week. She did a whole thing about how the men in the household in the 80s and 90s sitcoms like got completely diminished to being laughable. Like, you can't take men seriously. And that has
you can go back to the Jetsons and the Flintstones for that.
What's that?
You can go back to the Jetsons and Flintstones for that.
Well, that's true. That's true. But you know, but all I'm saying is that it's just, can I just get my entertainment without the side of messaging? And when you see it, we're talking about it longer than it happens, right? It's very brief, right? But it's also not necessary, doesn't advance the story, doesn't impact the story if it's missing. So I'm surprised that like Disney is like sticking to its guns, but you know, you're making these movies for kids and also for parents who pay for it. And at a certain point, people are going to figure this out and go, I don't want this in every movie. Can I just have a movie without it? And Buzz Lightyear was that opportunity. And I just think that there are activist forces in these corporations that are pushing this. And I say to them, you know what? Make an indie movie, because most of the indie movies we get definitely are filled with things like that. A lot of them are. And it's fine because that's a small movie made for a limited audience. I don't have an issue with it, but this is a broad movie made for families and children. So I take issue. And so
but at the same time, you know, it's like we went through all this to finally legalize gay marriage and allow gay couples to have children. You know, at some point, you know, we still can't have that in our movies. And, you know, I think, you know, I can definitely have the discussion about, well, what length do you go? You know, what part does it play in children's stories, but that actually represent it and say that yes, there are gay couples and they do have children. You know, I'm just not on that bandwagon that says no, we need to excise that from all children's stories.
Well, let's get to the comments now. Here's the thing: I would recommend Lightyear in spite of this. Just for me, it was like I just sort of like rolled my eyes and just like, all right, Disney, give me your agenda, you know. I get it, but and the thing that annoys me is my friends who, you know, hear me talk about this stuff and they don't have kids. So you don't have to have those conversations. You haven't had all the difficult conversations I've had to have with my kids about all types of things. Politics, 9/11, what's happening in the world. Are they going to have a future? How are they going to make money? How are they going to like, how are they, when like with all the swirling around, here's another conversation I'm forced to have with my kids because of some entertainment bullshit. And it annoys me that it's like, because you don't know that if you're not a parent and haven't had to deal with this, I really kind of feel fuck you. I'm sorry. I'm just like, it just annoys me so much because I had my kids when I was younger. I had the opportunity to be, you know, be in their life, be their dad. And I just did it, you know, I went to work and my then wife is stay-at-home freelancer and we both worked. And it just like, it was, my kids got to have a pretty good 2-parent household where we had conversations and fun and all that stuff and difficult conversations. It's not easy, right? Alan, you know, it's not easy.
Nope.
So, but what I'm saying is don't add to that, you know, like, I think there are better lessons that you can take away from a film like this. And this isn't the overriding lesson. And when you see the movie, you're probably going to think you guys probably talked about it too much, but I mean, you pointed out, Alan, this is now the third Disney Pixar movie with 2 moms and you don't need it. You don't need it. So let's get to the comments here. Planet 628. You don't need to recast Tim Allen over nothing. Andrew Eterno, yeah, the annoying part is the assumption that it's groundbreaking or something. Yeah, it's not groundbreaking. It's like,
yeah, it's the very time they did it.
It's just now it's the default. Now I'm surprised when I see like a heterosexual white couple in a movie. That's the rarity now. It's usually a mixed race couple. It's almost always a mixed race couple, always. And it's like, I get it. Yeah, nobody cares, Disney. Nobody cares. But do you always have to do that?
I mean, I will say I can't remember a Pixar movie where there was a traditional couple kissing like that. It may have happened, but it's it certainly wasn't never drawn attention to it.
Well,
I can't even think of
we
it.
got to get to these because we have 2 other
Yeah.
movies to review. We've got 2 guests
That's
today. So Patrick Lemire says, Alan, Disney conference calls say that Disney is not queer enough now. It needs to be in everything. CD Stein 69 says, sorry, Alan, the Book of Romans will disagree with you about how to perceive gay unions. Hate the sin, love the sinner is more applicable, and the current state of many denominations are in blasphemy.
Yeah.
On that, I would say that civil union is probably because you have gay couples, like who gets the health insurance, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
I think that is something that's a whole, just being not particularly a religious person myself, I can't speak to that.
Yeah. And I will say that, I've written articles about this that I need to dig up again, but yeah, this issue basically got me kicked out of the evangelical denomination. So
well, there you go.
I'm very aware of the verses and the argument, because I had it and I've argued it up for a very long time.
Toxic Waltz, and keep religion from little kids while you're at it. Yeah, religion.
Yeah, if you can keep religion out of something.
Yeah, no, religion is virtually been wiped away from all entertainment. Mm-hmm. Religion, even sort of like, yes, I'm going to bring up Star Wars, which was very Christian. Anakin's fall, and redemption is, that's a very Christian story. Mm-hmm. And there's virtually no religion in films anymore and modern entertainment.
Yeah. In the Jungle Book, in Walt Disney's Jungle Book, Bagheera quotes the Bible in it.
Yeah. Not the Batman. Alan needs to watch the leaked Disney exec meeting video. They do talk about, we've both watched that. Yeah. I was shocked, but not surprised. Yeah. And I don't know, if I ran that company, I would have fired everybody. I said, it's sort of like we make cupcakes. You're not going to make cupcakes and put like sausage in it. It's just not we're not making cupcakes that we split and we put hot dogs in it. It's not, it doesn't work. I would have fired everyone involved in that conversation if I were running the place.
As a film, the moment I wasn't bothered by, but if you want to talk about a slippery slope, I think we can have that discussion.
Yeah. Latino Slant, Paulie says Gore hates Latinx.
Oh, Paul, you should hear hear what Chris says in private. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, you see that video that AOC did where she was like talking about the controversy over Latinx, and it's like, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to. Okay. Joel Anthony Alvarado says Disney doesn't like 2 dads. Well, yeah, they don't. They don't like dads. Kevin Rubio says, what is a woke princess? Because I think that could describe Mulan, Ariel, Elsa. We're not talking about that. He was talking about, will there be a gay princess?
LGBT.
Yeah.
Will there be an LGBT princess?
Zax points out, we need more furry and other kin representation.
Absolutely.
Alan 2022. Powdered Toast Man, one of the great characters from Ren and Stimpy. The animated Buzz Lightyear series was really great when I was a kid. It's weird they didn't adapt that for a film.
By the way, Zootopia was the furry movie.
There you go. Jack Roberts says Buzz Gay Year. Did they cast Andy Dick to voice Buzz? No, they didn't. Thank you. Wait, no. Shelby AC, Alan's dog looks like Spike from Toy Story. Dempsey, dog's name. Now your dog is derailing the conversation.
I know. She's just laying there.
What's your dog's name?
Her name's Molly, named after the drug.
Perfect. Yeah. Matthew Smith says, thank you, Chris. You get it. I'm not sure which comment. But yeah,
I think the whole thing he's saying, the whole LGBT.
Adventure Industries, Lost in Space had a great soundtrack. No, literally Lost. If you go back to, if you recall the story of the Lost in Space movie from 1998 with William Hurt, and Billy Mooney has a cameo in it. Mm-hmm. The Lightyear movie lifts its story and plot from that movie. And if I go into detail, I will ruin everything. Spicy Octopus says Disney shouldn't be initiating these conversations. Now that's exactly right. What a point is this. I'm happy to have these conversations with my child in real life as needed, as necessary, at an age when I feel my kids are ready for that conversation. When I feel that, not when an entertainment corporation that I've given money to is telling me when I should have those conversations and forcing these conversations. And that is what I object to, is that I now have to have a discussion, and I'm having a discussion in my head of how that couple even conceived or had a child. Okay. Thread that needle, Alan.
They can do it now. I mean, really.
All right.
I mean, my whole thing is my kid has already seen that. My kid already understands that, and so when the moment happened, and it just went on.
Well, but it's fine. I just don't like having to be put in that position. And again, this doesn't affect me now because my kids are older, but I have nieces that are younger, and they're not going to see this movie. Darth Nutto says, "Hey, Chris and Alan, love your film critiques, Chris. Thank you." Spicy Octopus, 43K subs. Let's go, man. You'll be hitting 50K in no time. And hey, Cardinal Sin for 199, a super chat. Thank you for that super chat. It came in at the end of our live stream on Wednesday. Where are those old barristers' wigs with the powder? That's when we do our trial. We're going to put Lucasfilm and Disney on trial for the murder of Star Wars. That is going to be something we'll be doing later in the next couple weeks. We're going to be doing that. Ben Brogrim, I always see Ben Grimm. Brogrim, I will not see it. Not stuff I want my kids to see. And the fact that the only reason they brought back this scene was to virtue signal over the Florida bill. Yeah, it seems like we see why you're doing this. Like, why are you doing this? And the great thing is the movie's really great. The movie's really great and a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you will have a good time seeing it. And that part you did not need. Braggy Aggie says, "I'll wait till my 8-year-old nephew gets the DVD." Might be a better way to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Free Tim Allen says, "Zax, Ken Bogus, Disney check sent to Chris confirmed." What? No.
Well, no, that's when I was saying, because you liked Lightyear.
Yeah, I like Lightyear. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'll say if you go see it, you're probably gonna have a good time. But you're gonna notice this thing at the beginning where you're like, "Why was that in the movie?" And we know why, because it's pushing an agenda. It's not anything about entertaining, and it's stupid and unnecessary. And I wish they would stop doing that shit. If I was a Disney stockholder, thankfully I'm not, I would be really fucking pissed off. Shelby AC, Brad Bird almost made a fabulous The Spirit animated movie. Too bad that wasn't made. Dino's reviews, they were forced to put the same-sex kiss back in 2022, but we are somehow meant to believe Andy watched this in 1995. True, Dino. True. Gorilla Pancake, I'm baffled by the insane level of praise Top Gun Maverick is getting. It's cliched, utterly predictable, paint by the numbers screenplay. Jennifer Connelly's character was useless and two-dimensional, and I loved it. On my top 10 for the year.
She looked three-dimensional to me.
Let's see. Fictitious Dave Savage. So it's a movie from inside another movie. True, it is. Yeah. You're a toy.
Do you want to talk about Chris Evans and Tim Allen, or?
Sure, go ahead. But we have 2 more movies to review. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, we'll do it quick. I'm just making sure my check came in. Okay, yeah. No, I had no problem with Chris Evans doing Buzz Lightyear.
The logic is that Tim Allen is the voice of the toy, because traditionally when they do stuff like that, like the actual people don't do the voice, those kind of like voiceovers. Yeah. So
I think the tone of the tone of the toy is comedic and light, while in this one it needed to be serious. And I think if Tim Allen was in it, it kind of breaks the seriousness that they needed Buzz Lightyear to be.
I think Chris Evans is very good. He's very good as Buzz Lightyear. Shelby, see, just looking at the key art, the film looks so dark compared to the bright colors of 1995. Like that slap button, Lightyear would have never inspired a 90s kid. Let's be honest. And that's my biggest beef with Lightyear. It should be 1994 theme, says Toxic Waltz N8.
Yeah. I mean, I will grant that the conversation in 1994 about same-sex marriages was very different than it is today. And I don't think it would have come out that way in the film.
Copperhead 72 for $10. Thank you for that. As a Gen X and seeing the woke mind virus in action, I know and understand. I understand how my grandparents' generation felt with how movies changed in the late 60s. Yeah. Yeah, it's I get it. Thank you, Copperhead, for the $10. Let's switch gears now. So bottom line on Buzz Lightyear, recommended. And there's this weird scene that's unnecessary and it's annoying. And if you have single-digit age kids and you're interested in having a fun conversation about all that,
mommies and daddies,
you can take your kid and you can have the conversation, or you can ignore it. Just like when I'd see movies as a kid and we didn't know there were boobs in the movies, and we just go completely unmentioned. You know, as a kid, see movies with the family, like Logan's Run, and you're like, just pretend we didn't see a bunch of nudity. So there you go. Let's switch gears now.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears, and we're going to talk about, and I have a couple things to discuss with this film, not just about the film, but about the company that is releasing this film, and that is Terror on the Prairie. Let's talk about Terror on the Prairie. Gina Carano, of course. This is a great segue from Disney. Unceremoniously let go from The Mandalorian as her character Cara Dune, which was, I thought, a great character. I don't think that, well, I actually think Gina Carano is incredibly sexy. I think she is very attractive woman. She has the ability to be feminine, but also she can be very physical, right? I mean, she has had a career fighting in the ring, okay? A successful career at that. And is, became an actress starring, what's that Steven Soderbergh movie? You've got her IMDb up, Alan. You're supposed to be like my Robin Quivers and have it all up. So when I need a fact, Alan, come on.
We're getting there.
I'd say something like chop, chop, Alan, chop, chop, but then people might think
Extraction.
Yeah, I think that was the movie. Okay. Steven Soderbergh, right?
Yeah, it wasn't Kickboxer Vengeance, was it?
No, it was but
it had to be.
No, was it that or something? Anyways,
okay,
I just remember it was a very forgettable title, and that sounds like one of those forgettable title action movies.
I'll find it.
In any case, so she was unceremoniously let go from Disney, and it's just like one in a whole series of things that Disney continues to do, where I'm just like, do you want my money? Do you want my money? Do you want me as a customer? Like, there's clearly hypocrisy at work, because, I follow her on social media. She follows me as well, actually. She, the things she says, I think, are in the interest of not being divisive. If you really read what she's saying, she's like, don't get sucked in by all this divisive rhetoric that's coming out, especially around election time. And she just happened to have the wrong politics, which is why she was let go. I think it's very hypocritical. I think it's obvious to everyone watching. And I'm so happy that within the week of her being let go from Disney, because of, a group of woke activists within Lucasfilm, which I hope all get fired one day, because that kind of no, I'm serious. I hope they all get fired. I hope they all get fucking fired, because they deserve it. That's a horrific way to act, is to push your morality on someone else. That's what they used to complain about the religious right in the 90s. You're trying to push your stuff on me. Well, you know what? I don't like your stuff being pushed on me. I don't like it. I reject it. I you know what? We should just allow, we need to learn to coexist. Do you remember that bumper sticker? That lame bumper sticker that you always see on cars sometimes? Well, that actually has to happen, and it seems to work well in the real world. Not so bad in the real world, but it's terrible on social media, which I think turns people into assholes. Having said all that, within a week of her being let go from Disney, she was picked up by the Daily Wire, who had a script in development. They're making movies now. We talked about What Is a Woman like a week, was it last week or a couple weeks ago? We talked about What Is a Woman. Shut In is a movie which actually won an award at our event award right? Shut In, really great thriller, like all kind of set in one room, and it's intense. I mean, and parts of it very difficult to watch. And so Terror on the Prairie is a traditional Western. And Alan, you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into it. Now, I will say this. You would expect that, like, the Daily Wire is going to make this, starring Gina Carano, and really some grizzled great character actors as filling out the rest of the cast in this brutal.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. I mean, the opening scene, if this were rated, it'd be R-rated. And it would be
TVMA currently.
TVMA, R-rated. I mean, Daily Wire, I will say this, them putting this movie out, this is not like a sort of milquetoast, like it's not family friendly, let's say that. This is not a family friendly Western, right? I mean, the opening scene, I don't want to ruin too much, but opening scene, you see someone get graphically scalped. Graphically. That is the opening scene. They set up like who the bad guys are. Okay. And these bad guys come and you see these bad guys, they're sort of bounty hunters. They catch this guy, scalp him, and you go like, oh, when is that? Obviously there's going to be a conflict. Gina Carano's character, she has a young son, probably 8-10 years old, and a young baby. Like, well, aren't all babies young?
Yeah.
I think all babies are young. What am I doing?
She has an infant. She has
an infant, and she has a young son and a husband who kind of she's holding down the fort. Traditional. There's a really good YouTube channel that I watch. I find it really relaxing, and it's where they do what's it called? I gotta forget the name of this YouTube channel. But it's called American. It's just something. What it does is they show like recipes from the early 1800s and 1700s. Then they only use tools that exist at that time to make those recipes. And you'd be surprised how sophisticated food was back then. Chicken pot pie, a traditional Christmas dinner. And this woman and her either husband or boyfriend, it's very quiet. They almost don't talk. They just put up like graphics, and they only use the tools they had back then and the methods to actually make home cooked meals. And it takes hours, and they do it in real time. And I find it really soothing. So I know, bizarre. In any case, you see like how rough daily life is, just doing the most simple thing. You know, you don't just grab a K-cup and make a cup of coffee. You get the beans, you do it on the stove. It's like, you see how hard life is.
You go to the well, you get water.
It's not like, yeah, exactly. It's just like all those things. So all that's kind of like played out, like how difficult life is. And then of course, what's going to happen? Right? We know that these bounty hunters are going to come in conflict with Gina Carano's family. I even forget, what was the name of her character?
Oh
yeah. Oh, Haywire was the name. Thank you.
Haywire. Yeah.
Haywire was the name of that Steven Soderbergh movie.
Okay.
Thank you for that. But
Hattie McAllister.
Hattie McAllister. She's got like the same Hattie, right? That's a Western classic name. And it's brutal. And the thing is that I kind of feel like the other thing is there's no agenda with this movie whatsoever. There's like none whatsoever. It's a simple story of Gina Carano versus the bad guys. And she's just waiting on like, please, her husband to get home so she can deal with this. Right. And everything that can go wrong does go wrong in the midst of this. She's trying to take care of this infant. But the good thing is she's good with a gun. You're going to be on the frontier, you know, as a woman home alone, you better know, you better be good with a gun. And she is. While I thought the movie was entertaining, I thought it was incredibly brutal. I thought it was really raw and brutal. And maybe like, I mean, because I always look at like a lot of Westerns as being kind of hopeful and romantic. And this doesn't attempt to romanticize the Old West at all. And in fact, there's a conflict between Gina Hattie and her husband about like, we should just move back. Like, let's just move back to the city. Let's move back to St. Louis where there's some civilization, right? Like she's like complaining about like how difficult it is. So and I have another, so I really enjoyed the film. Should you subscribe to Daily Wire just to watch this movie? I don't know. I think it's like $15 a month, which is kind of what you would pay to see one movie. So for $15, you can see Shut In, The Hyperions, What is a Woman? This, you can subscribe
Run, Hide,
for a month.
Fight.
You can bail. What's that?
Run, Hide, Fight.
Oh, that's right. Run, Hide, Fight. So there's like, yeah, they got like and more movies coming, right?
Yeah.
So for $15 for a month, you drop in, but it's not a streaming service that is robust enough, I think, to keep you beyond that, unless your politics align with the Daily Wire. And
Yeah, I
they'll
was gonna
go,
say you're gonna get a lot of political commentary along with your subscription as well.
right. And there's actually an interesting series on there about Fauci that Michael Knowles did, which I thought was very good. But the thing is this: it's a simple story Western that I thought was entertaining and at times hard to watch, specifically because it doesn't lean into the romanticism, it leans into the brutality. And if that's your bag, you're gonna love it. And of course, I actually really love Gina Carano and I'm rooting for her success. So I paid to see it. Alan got a screener. Okay. So but I want to hear your thoughts, Alan. I've kind of given a little bit of the story without giving too much away, but I want to hear your thoughts on this film.
And yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you said. The thing that struck me the most, one is after coming off of a 2.5 hour discussion of Kenobi, just the storytelling in this is so refreshing. They build the sympathy for Gina Carano's character. You understand she doesn't want to be there. The life is too hard for her. It's too rugged, too gritty. And now she's faced, so you've built a lot of sympathy for her children, and basically a husband who feels responsible for the situation he put her in. And then now you have these bounty hunters coming in. The thing that stood out to me, though, the most is the fact that, here's Gina Carano with this MMA background. She's a tough fighter. And yet she portrays Hattie as a typical woman in the Old West at that time. So there's no point where she, stands up proudly and starts wailing away at one of the bad guys, MMA style. No, they keep it very grounded. And they almost pose the question of how would a strong, determined woman who's put up against the wall in this intense situation, how could she possibly survive it? And that's how the story plays out. And the other thing is that the use of guns. I'm just surprised how bad guns were back in those days. How it's almost impossible to actually shoot someone in the Wild West at that time. And we see this in if you've ever watched the A-Team, you can have a machine gun and never hit a soul. But in this one, they kind of justify this whole idea at the end of the movie, at the very last shot, which to me was amazing. So I think what drew me, or what stood out to me the most about this movie, is just the authenticity of it, from the situation, from the setting, and how the storyline plays out.
Yeah, I think it's a more realistic portrayal of the Old West rather than the romanticized version we've seen in movies like, say, Dances with Wolves, right?
Yeah. Or even your typical Westerns, even.
Yeah, your typical Westerns tend to be more romanticized. I think this was brutally realistic. And Gina Carano's great in it. Carano's great in it. I don't think she'll ever come back as Cara Dune. She'll never work for Disney again. I think those people who were involved in her being dispensed with so unceremoniously and disrespectfully, I think they all deserve to be fired. I think is a horrible way to treat your talent. Just because you personally may disagree with her politics. And I think her politics, the way I think her politics are pretty middle of the road.
Well, I don't think she's overtly, it's not like she's endorsing candidates. She's just giving her feelings about certain subjects that happen to, and it's not like she's going full on right or full on left.
No, she's not.
There's a very nuance to her arguments.
She's I think that I agree, and that's kind of like that's why I admire her, because she's being brave at a time when you have to choose a side. I don't think she's necessarily Republican. She probably has many views or views that kind of fit that, but I don't know. I think she's certainly someone who is brave, standing up at a time and saying things that that most people are too afraid to say out loud. In any case, I recommend this movie. I strongly recommend it, but with the caveat is this is not a movie for kids. It's incredibly brutal, and there are shocking moments in it. And most people, if I say that out loud, most people are gonna go, "That's gonna sell it to me." I love that, and okay, but like I'm not a big fan of like stuff that's like super realistically gory, like that. Like I get a bit squeamish about.
Yeah,
and Gina Carano did a great job.
I think
So,
people are dropping Bone Tomahawk. I've seen Dragged Across Concrete. I mean, those are incredibly brutal. It's definitely moving in that direction, but I don't think it goes as far as those two films.
Well, we've got another movie to talk about, The Black Phone, and we're trying to do a preview of that. We'll do a more extensive review next week, but let's get into it. Chat here. Latino Slant says, great chat, folks. Keep it up. Smash that like right now. Smash that like Alan said. And Joshua Melton says, it was haywire. Fat Elvis says, Alan Shame. Charles K, I don't necessarily agree with some of the Daily Wire content, but I applaud their incursion into the entertainment industry and attempt to create an alternate movie economy. I agree with you, Charles K, but I will say this, I'll add this. I think I like what they're attempting to do, but it's all about scale. I don't think you're going to get your average person to subscribe to a service like the Daily Wire. One, if their politics don't align, and your politics don't have to be where the Daily Wire's is necessarily. You don't have to be a conservative to enjoy the movies that the Daily Wire's put out. You don't have to be, you can enjoy Shut In for what it is. You can enjoy The Hyperions. You can enjoy Terror on the Prairie. You can enjoy these movies for what they are. You don't have to have your politics don't have to align to a certain place to enjoy these movies. And I think they might be better off if they also, in addition, like maybe they keep them on the Daily Wire for 45 days, and then you can buy it on a streaming, like you can buy it on Apple Movie, the iTunes, you can buy it on Amazon Prime or whatever. I think they would do these movies a better service by broadly releasing them after they're on the streaming service, on their exclusively on their streaming service for a time. I understand why they're doing that. They're trying to build their streaming service, but what if I just want to see Terror on the Prairie? I'm scrolling through my Vudu or Movies Anywhere, and I just want to see it, or Amazon Prime Video. There's so many places that you can get movies, video on demand. I just want to see Terror on the Prairie. I don't want to subscribe to the Daily Wire. I understand why they're doing it, because it's data collection, right?
Yeah.
So they keep the monthly.
I'll also say, I think they're new to this. It feels like they're making a lot of new mistakes. Like just the fact that I got my screener last night, as opposed to Shut In, I got several days beforehand. Even Hyperions, I got several days beforehand. And I seem to be they seem to be sending us the screeners a little bit late, which might also explain why, there's not a lot of reviews on there on Rotten Tomatoes, at least not from us.
Well, we'll have a review of Terror on the Prairie on the website.
Yeah, I got to do it this afternoon.
Cool. Flaccid Phoenix says, Gina can push any agenda on me. Oh, I see where you're going. Anna, I haven't seen a good Western in a while. This is a good one, and be prepared. Beowulf's Revenge sounds like an accurate Western. Life is really bad out in the West. True. CD Stein 69 for $9.99. Totally obvious why she was let go, because there are others still employed and have said far worse and divisive. Agree. Please, God, someone get rid of Kathleen Kennedy.
We need another, board revolution where, when they got rid of Eisner, when Roy Disney got in to take out the board, it feels like that we need to get back to that. We need to do that again.
Patrick Lemire, I'm curious about Daily Wire's model. Just all views on their platform or limited theatrical release? No, it's just behind a paywall. It's $15. I mean, $15, and then you can watch all the movies that they have on their platform. There's only like 6. But there's also documentary series and other stuff. I mean, I recommend subscribe for a month and then just watch all that's on there. But my suggestion, if anyone from the Daily Wire is watching this, you need to release your movies theatrical, because these are theatrical quality movies, even if they're limited theatrical release. And there's a way to do that. And if someone there doesn't know how, contact me directly. I can put you in touch with people that can help with that it's not difficult to do a limited theatrical release. And then you got to put these movies on other platforms because they're very good. And I think that there are certain customers that are not going to, for whatever reason, they're not going to subscribe to another streaming service, because I think that's a thing that people are turned off by now. Like, I don't want to subscribe to Paramount Plus because it's just another one. And I have to remember when I get my bill or whatever, remember to cancel it. Right. So yeah.
Well, part of me wonders, are they having trouble getting on other platforms?
I don't know. That could be it also. Solomon Thornton, political views aside, we can all agree that Gina Carano is really hot and a badass. Yes. Anna, Chris is the cooking channel you're referring to called English Heritage. There's another one too where the lady makes Appalachian recipes. I think it's more American heritage, but it's, oh God. I got it. You know, I have to like stop and go search.
I know.
We have too much to do today.
Fortunately, I can't look that up for you.
Terror on the Prairie is about a bunch of gay couples forcing Gina to make them wedding cakes. Yeah, that would be. No, it's actually not. Infinite Main for $10. How does DW make money on multi-million-dollar movies? They surely won't make their budget back in subs. I don't think this was a multi-million-dollar movie. I think it was maybe a couple million. It was shot in Montana.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. I've been to Montana once. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I don't think they're at the multi-million stage yet.
A very clever, sinister reviews for $5 says, was it more brutal than Hostels with Christian Bale? I never saw it, so I don't know. But if that's also a brutal Western, then I'm going to say it more than likely is. Not the Batman, not a Western, if someone isn't thrown through a saloon window. There is breaking glass in this, and there are whores. Michael Seagriff, did you see Unforgiven, Alan?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're talking about the realism of the Western, and definitely that was another one.
Akanika, Alan's review tops.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I make sure I starred that one.
Patrick Lemire, it is more brutal. Is it more brutal than Unforgiven? I
don't think so.
At least along the same lines. Mm-hmm. Adventure Industries, S. Craig Zoller hasn't made anything in a while.
Yeah. I mean, Dragged Across Concrete was 2018. I mean, that's pre-COVID.
Girthy Guitarist is making my point for me. I wanted to watch the film too, but didn't want Daily Wire. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, I just want to see the movie. So the only way to see it is to subscribe to Daily Wire. So, but there's plenty of people that are like, oh, I like Gina Carano. I want to see that movie. And I think that that's what they're hoping for, is that you'll just subscribe to the Daily Wire for 1 month. Then they've got your email address, when not necessarily if you bought it on Prime or bought it on iTunes, they wouldn't collect that data. So there you go. Patrick Lemire, Alan is going to sue Gore for creating a hostile work environment. It's not hostile. It's not hostile.
Well, you make me take my shirt off and put
Alan on my buddies. Is the jaded filmmaker, but is there a gay kiss in Prairie? No, there's not. Yeah. Garen, did you watch Mad God on Shudder? I thought it was a work of art. Yes, Gavin, we did, and we'll talk about that someday. Yeah. But we have to, first of all, so my recommendation is subscribe to the Daily Wire to see this. But I have a recommendation for Daily Wire. Please release these movies on other platforms. And I think what you'll do is eventually they'll just become, they're just part of the movies that come out. And the quality of the films is certainly there from everything that we've seen. And I'd like to see these movies more widely available. So there you go. Well, let's get into it, Alan. We don't have a lot of time before our first special guest shows up. Let's get to our review of. Let's talk about, and we're going to talk about it briefly, unfortunately, because I really need a lot of time to talk about this movie, The Black Phone. Did you see it?
Yes, I did. I saw it in the theater.
So I'm in the midst of creating a top 10 list of movies for this year. I don't currently have 10, but on that list are Top Gun Maverick, The Northman, RRR, and The Black Phone. This is an incredible horror movie. And I'll say this, that Scott Derrickson, who is the director of this film, and he co-wrote it.
Yes.
He co-wrote it with a guy, C. Robert Cargill. C. Robert Cargill's name might be familiar to you. He used to write for Ain't It Cool News, and he's a screenwriter from Austin, Texas. co-wrote the script with Scott Derrickson. And Scott Derrickson, the director of Doctor Strange, I think Scott dodged a bullet by not directing Doctor Strange 2. I think he dodged a bullet. The Black Phone is incredible as a horror film. I think the best horror films for me are ones that deal with real life terror, real life horror. I'm fond of saying, I probably said this before, but I like to say that Quentin Tarantino movies are all monster movies where the monsters are people, right? They're the characters themselves are the monsters in Tarantino movies. And this is about a real world monster who abducts children, young kids, locks them in a basement and with very little resources, and sort of builds up to the point where this monster is going to murder a child. Okay. I don't want to get into too many details of the story. We'll consider this a sort of initial reaction, because the movie's not out yet. We saw an earlier screening, which was available to the public. If you're an AMC A-list member, they have this thing that says investor screening, and they don't even tell you what the movie is until you buy the tickets, and then you can. It's really cool. So anyone can see it. I was in a packed, nearly 100% full audience, and this movie is terrifying. So it's set in the 70s, and it is about this kid and his. Well, Alan, why don't you go through the story real quickly?
Yeah,
I need to bring something up.
I mean, again, I think this is another great example of how you tell a story. But it's about this kid named Finn who is kind of bullied at school. He has an abusive father. He has a sister as well who's oh my gosh. Okay, I'll talk about them later. But
yeah, go ahead.
He gets abducted by basically a serial killer played by Ethan Hawke, and this is all in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling a lot. But when he's in this kind of soundproof dungeon, there's a phone that doesn't work, and he gets calls from Ethan Hawke's past victims on how they tried to escape, and it's just again, this is the horror movies that I like are the ones that have a clever story behind it. That is not horror for horror's sake. That there's a puzzle here that has to be solved, and this kid has to solve it in extraordinary ways. And again, there's a lot of setup before he ultimately gets abducted, but all that does is it sets up his character, and by setting up his character, we become emotionally invested in his safety and the outcome of this film. And again, we went 2 hours about Kenobi about this, which does none of that. You have to write stories that allows the audience to engage, to put yourself in the shoes of your protagonist, and then now you're engaged throughout the whole movie and you're invested as to the outcome. And that's where that's good storytelling. That's good basic storytelling, and Black Phone has it from top to bottom. I will say this: Finn, who's played by Mason Thames, and Gwen Madeline McGraw, there's a moment where they're both crying in separate situations, and I swear they cry like real children. It's not a Hollywood cry. I mean, I'm like, this is how my kid cries. Well, and I was just blown away by how authentic this was.
It was. I was blown away by that, and to me, this is the best cast. The whole cast. I'm talking about. The cast of kids, and they're kids at that age, right? This is this has to be like junior high, right?
Yeah. I think it's
early high school, but
I would say freshman. Yeah.
Yeah, like freshman year high school, like junior high-ish era. Like these kids are that age. They're the correct age. They look their age. This is the best cast of young actors since Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused. Like, this cast is amazing. They're so good in this. And in the screening I was at, which was 100% full, this is not a movie for kids. I saw a mother with her young child walk out of the screen.
Yeah.
It was so horrific. And you could hear a pin drop. And what I love about the movie is, one, the use of music. There's a needle drop of like a Pink Floyd song that is so perfect. I haven't heard that song in a long time. And and also this was my childhood in the sense that that's kind of the era that I grew up in. With it was like, the 70s and 80s is when I was a kid. And so seeing this portrayed so accurately on screen was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that was horrific about it was not just the use of sound, the sound design and music, but the lack of music.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments where the movie is just quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And there aren't any, when there are scares in the movie, of course, but they're not cheap scares. They're not cheap scares. And you see how this serial killer kind of conducts himself. He has a certain method of doing this so that he doesn't get caught, and it's frightening. Why? Because it's way too real. Let me tell you how real. When I was a kid growing up in Royal Oak, Michigan, there was the Oakland County child killer. And blocks away from where I lived, there was a boy that was my age. At the time he was abducted, his name was Timothy King. And you can see him. I just Googled somebody's blog. This is retrokimmer.com. You can look up retrokimmer.com. And she wrote a blog post about this because this was a cold case. They never caught this guy. This terrified me as a kid. When I was a kid, I learned to read at a really young age. And then I would read the newspaper. Why was I reading the newspaper as a kid? Well, mostly to find out what monster movies were on television. There was late night horror shows and whatnot. So I learned to read so I could win our monster movies on, right? But then I'd begin to read articles and news. This Oakland County child killer terrified Oakland County and the Royal Oak Metro Detroit area where I lived, where I grew up as a kid. This kid, Timothy King, lived 3 blocks from me in Berkeley, Michigan, right around the corner from the Berkeley movie theater, which is now a drugstore if you go back to Michigan. I was horrified. I read all the details about it. My sister, who was younger than me at the time, we were typical. We were latchkey kids. We walked to school. Seeing this movie brought back all these memories of that era. And I remember teaching my sister. I taught my sister how to if someone tries to grab you, kick them in the balls, grab them in the balls. I tried to actually teach my sister little methods of self-defense because she was younger than me. We didn't always walk home together from school. And that was just, you walked home at school, you kept your screen door unlocked. It was a different time. And details stood out to me when I was a kid reading about it, that the car that was always spotted where these kids were abducted, the car was a blue Gremlin with a white hockey stripe. You can kind of see it there, just below the photos of the children. And they would just find these bodies of the kids dumped naked in a field. These bodies of these kids. And I remember the gruesome detail that terrified me, that to this day I never forgot, was that Timothy King, when they did the autopsy on him, he had a banquet frozen chicken pot pie dinner as his last meal. And I used to eat those up when I was a kid. I mean, had them probably a couple times a week. I lived on those. And there were so many similarities between the two of us. I mean, you're looking at this photo of Timothy King. That might as well have been a photo of me because it's kind of what I looked like, as an awkward preteen growing up. So to just see his story play out from the abduction to the disappearance, to the searching, to the details, the blue gremlin, all this stuff, it was horrific. And seeing this movie, The Black Phone, just completely brought back all of those memories. You could go down a rabbit hole. This is one of those cold cases that later they think they solved. And we don't have time really to go into it now, but I'll just say that The Black Phone, the terror in this is this real terror. The fantasy version is him kind of talking to the children who were murdered in the basement before. But I cannot recommend this movie enough. On my top 10 list of the year, I just I've got maybe 5 movies on my top 10 list. This is on it. I plan to see the movie again, and we'll do a deeper dive interview, but that's my preview of it with no spoilers. I think when we do a second review, this is our non-spoiler review. We'll do a spoiler review later, but I want to hear your impressions because, first of all, this is a real thing that continues to happen today. Children get abducted and are put through horrible things. And now you're seeing this from the point of view of the child going through this experience. That theater, and people walked out, and you know when a movie's good, here's when I know a movie is good with a mainstream audience, is when they see the movie and they don't leave. Not only do they not leave, the credits, they go outside and they stand around like outside the movie theater to talk about the movie, because you have to debrief the experience. And that's what everybody did watching The Black Phone. Alan, what are your impressions?
Yeah, wow. I'm not as connected to it as you were, but I'm definitely, it was, I just mentioned it. You talk about a parent having to leave with their child. I mean, it's as visceral as it gets in terms of a child being abducted, and then giving, and then what that child is like. I don't know that we truly know what it's like being abducted, but it's pretty close, and it is scary. And I would imagine that kid now has nightmares going on for the next few years in his or her life. But yeah, I mean, you just hit the nail on it. This is, I like the fact that this is probably not going to be a franchise. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but I like the fact that it is a self-contained story, and that such great attention was paid to. I think the best movies are the ones that can orchestrate our feelings. That gets us into the melody of a song, and then moves us along the path of this song, and just manipulating our emotions and our feelings along the way. And this is a classic example of one of those. And like I said, I do like the cleverness of the conceit of the story, which is this phone and the calls the kid gets from the ghost, and how that plays itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of saw it coming, but I enjoyed how it played out at the end to the final moment.
It's so, I mean, it's so harrowing. I can't emphasize it enough, but I don't see this as a franchise. If they try to make it, I don't think that Scott Derrickson would be involved. He'd be smart to not be involved.
Yeah.
You could see how they could make it, because Ethan Hawke has this horrific mask, but I cannot recommend this movie enough. I'm sure advance tickets are on sale for when it opens. I think it opens later this month. I plan to see it again, and we'll do a more extensive spoiler review, but it is on my top 10 list for the year, and I'm blown away by it. So cannot recommend it enough. Let's switch gears here now. We're going to talk about because there are indie films that are opening this weekend. Indie films are out on video on demand, and we have the filmmakers behind those movies joining us. Escape the Field director I got to change that. Emerson Moore. Can you change that, Alan? That banner?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Emerson Moore will be joining us in just a moment, but let's talk about this film, Escape the Field. Great premise that starts out begins a little bit like in a Squid Game sense, right? You've got like all these sort of very different characters wake up in the middle of a cornfield. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what they're doing. And each of them awakes with one item. What do they have on them? They've got one item that they each keep there, and that fits into the larger story. And of course, these characters all have to come together, figure out why they were given this item, when they use it, what it's for. You've got the conflicts between the characters.
Yeah. Can they trust each other?
Can they trust each other? Secrets are kept. They somehow have to come together it's like the ultimate escape room movie in a sense, because it is sort of that premise. It's also terrifying because they can't leave the cornfield. No matter where they go, there's no pathway out. They don't see a way out. This could have been, on the level of like a Black Mirror. It has that kind of terrifying nature. It's also about how these characters who come from different backgrounds and whatnot, how they interact. The trailer for the movie, check out the trailer. It's actually in the description for this episode. So you'll find it there. Go watch the trailer later. It is out on video on demand today. And I am pleased to join the director, Emerson Moore, who joins us on the Film Threat Livecast with us today. Emerson, good to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you. How are you guys?
Doing great. Tell us how this project came about and how you made I don't see how you made a cornfield that, I mean, there are these amazing shots sort of that are like these above shots. I don't want to say drone shots necessarily, but like that just show you the vastness of how they're all trapped. But what drew you to the script? How did you get involved in this project? And just tell us how this whole thing came together.
Okay, great. I think you're talking about the opening shot.
Yes, yeah, it's great.
Up above. We did that with a drone and then stitched it into a crane, which then went down onto another thing. So it's a series of shots. That's how it was done. I had first read like a super early draft of this a few years back. It was sent to me from a producing friend back then, and I just fell in love with the story and the concept immediately, and it connected with my writing partners on it. And we had spent a lot of time just kind of working on different ideas and concepts and how the film would work together. And we're ramping up into it. I guess that would have been end of 2019-ish, right in that area. And there was a plan where we were gonna shoot this thing very differently than what ended up happening. Then the pandemic happened, and somehow or another we got it put together and literally shot right in the middle of the pandemic in September. So that presented a lot of challenges in and of itself, and we had to change a few things and kind of tweak a few things to fit to that model of being trapped in a hotel and in a bubble and having one single set to work from. So there were no stages and no production moves. We just were in a cornfield.
Well,
that's how it happened.
Yeah, it works amazingly. It's not, someone asked in the chat, and we'll get to your chat questions. Please post your questions for Emerson here, and we'll get to those questions. But someone asked, is it sci-fi? I mean, I would say, sort of borderline for sure sci-fi. I would say it's like a really good episode of The Twilight Zone, sort of in that realm where you're like, what are they doing here? And there's like, what I do like is not just the questions that are answered, but the questions that remain unanswered, right? Like, I think sometimes a lot of movies today try to over explain things. So how did you, and what I love also is sort of the peeling back of the onion of like the characters and sort of how they're introduced, and each of them have their own kind of agenda and their own secrets. So one, it had to be obviously challenging to shoot during COVID. There are all sorts of, crazy rules. And I think that some of those are still being used, but like how difficult was it to shoot during the pandemic?
The interesting thing was we were one of the very first films to actually shoot. So there were no rules. We kind of had to develop them, and, the production worked closely with SAG and, developed guidelines. We had COVID specialists and, these different groups. And we were still doing the foot-long stick down your nose routine, on the daily, which was just terrible. But we made it through pretty much unscathed. We had a false positive and missed one day of shooting, I think, overall, but we never shut down, which was great. And it probably, has a lot to do with, we're in the middle of a cornfield. So smaller cast out in the middle of the field. Those aspects were great. We truncated the crew, and, I shot the film single camera, which was, that was fun. And just kind of pared everything down so we could actually make the film. There were, some other ideas and things there that are, that we weren't able to do because we weren't able to go to stages or into any other locations. So kind of just had to kind of tweak things at the end a bit to fit what we had to work with.
Let's go some really great comments and questions here in the chat. So I'm going to go to some of these. Zach says, very recognizable cast with Theo Rossi and Shane West.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That's great. Piers Bronson for $5 super chat says, you guys have encouraged me in thinking long-term about independent filmmaking and building a team studio in the works. Keep it up. Thanks again. Yeah, we feature a lot of indie filmmakers. We bring them on because I want to inspire our viewers to get involved in independent film.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
what we're about. And then Jack D. Ripper asks, what other directors, films, or TV programs influenced this film?
That's a great question. I hadn't really thought about it, but I've noticed, a lot of people have referenced the opening to Lost, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I see it too, as well. Other films that influenced this were Cube was one that comes to mind. I mean, that film had always stuck with me. And my writing partners also had an idea of that kind of conceptual idea in there as well. And then kind of the escape aspect of it kind of developed a little bit further, and this kind of what is it, who's trapped them in the field, and what that is. The answers are all there. They're in the film. If you look, you'll figure it out pretty quick. Pay attention to what Denise is saying. She's going to tell you exactly why they're there.
Well, now I have to see it again.
Yeah.
Art Clement says, if you build it, they will come, but they can't get out. That could have been your tagline.
Yeah, it was, and touching back to Theo and Shane, I mean, those guys, and Jordan and Elena and Tahira and Ethan, all of them, Julian, they were all just so amazing and really went for it. It was a lot of fun. I'd worked with Theo in the past, and Shane really responded to the script and the ideas of what we were doing, and real pleasure working with them. Super talented.
That's great. For Emerson, with filming in a cornfield, how hard was it to film in such close spacing to get that claustrophobic feel? Yeah, the movie does feel really claustrophobic, but then also just like this sense of like you're just trapped and you don't even know how to get out. It's just like it's a crazy feeling that you get watching this film.
So the way that I approached it, and that was a challenge that was actually weighing heavily on my mind before shooting, was, how do I not make this feel like we're just in the cornfield?
Right.
How do we make it feel different to where that doesn't become a factor? So I started looking at different ways to use foreground and background, use distant focal points, put things into a distant space, and open up the frame. I shot widescreen on anamorphic, so that tended to open up the frame as well. And I just tried to find my moments to lift up out of the field and give everybody a breather for a moment, and then make use of that claustrophobic feeling when we're in really close. So that was the big thing, is just look for your moments of how you can use the frame to give a different feel, using different angles or paths, then shooting flat occasionally here and there.
Some more comments here. Sean Hu says, I love the idea where it's an escape room tale, but it's outside, presumably without walls.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, being trapped in a wide open space. That was definitely something that we thought about as well. It's like, what if this was just no end? Like there was no discernible, like, a building over there, or, things you would see in a cornfield, like the edge. So that was a big concept.
Goober says, ironically, it doesn't look corny at all. And then Solomon Thornton says, any advice for beginning filmmakers?
Yeah, you have a huge advantage these days. Everyone has like a film studio in their hand, basically, which is just amazing, and readily accessible avids. You can still go back and jump on Final Cut, which I haven't used forever, or Premiere. But having all of these things, and just start shooting stuff, just start writing stuff and shooting stuff, and writing stuff and shooting stuff. Like I remember when I was a kid, it was just more. I remember my siblings would shoot stuff on Super 8, or we would find a VHS. I remember those days, and it was always a little bit strange getting 2 VCRs and trying to edit that way. It was just stupid. But nowadays, it's just so much that you can do with everything that's right there for you. I mean, I had used, whether it be my phone or my iPad, and different viewfinders, even in this film. I storyboarded everything on the whole film prior to shooting, just on an iPad with an Apple Pencil. So that's my advice, is just start shooting stuff.
Dempsey asked, do you remember the moment when you decided that filmmaking was your career calling?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Gosh, I was super young, and I remember I'd seen Phantasm by accident.
Oh, love that movie.
Yeah, that, and then like I remember seeing Rosemary's Baby, and then gosh, oh, the other one, Animal House, like all of this stuff, and then it just kept coming, and Dress to Kill, Carrie, Exorcist, and that was it. I was hooked. Like it was
Well,
literally nothing else to do.
yeah, Don Coscarelli's Phantasm is
Yeah.
so great. I also saw it at like probably too young an age, and
Yeah.
it's such a great film.
You're like,
Like,
what is this? What is this? What is this stuff? Yeah. I remember
so
that. I
good.
think there was, remember what? The Thing, of course.
Mhm.
Gosh, but all of these, I would see because my older siblings or, over at a friend's house and, somebody had something and their parents weren't around and boom, all of a sudden you see something like that. It's indelible impression is left. And like, how do I do that? I mean, I grew up here in LA, so it was, extra on a movie set or PA or whatever it would be. And you just kind of find a way.
Right.
By the way,
Another question here from Flaccid Phoenix asks, how much did the story change from the first draft you read to the finished product?
that's a really good question. All the basics were there. A couple characters were a little bit different. But the basics are there. 6 strangers wake up in a cornfield, each with a different item. And then it was just a little bit more, we worked to just put a little bit more in there to, find the way that it worked, and give it a little bit more of a reason. There wasn't that much wasn't super clear in the beginning. It was very like no idea. So we spent time with that and sent drafts back and forth and figured it out, but not a whole ton.
When you say the characters changed, I'm always curious about that. Was it the fact that you needed more contrast between characters, maybe, or something more to service the plot?
Not necessarily, like a little bit to service the plot, but also, we wanted to get a little bit more, and it was thinned out in the final cut that was released. But there was much, backstory and who these people are. There was a lot more of that that ended up kind of getting thinned out of the final cut, and a couple other scenes that we just weren't able to shoot, with it being the circumstance of what it was in 2020. So.
And here, Zach's asked the question, Emerson, this is your first feature-length film. What surprised you about the process?
Boy, that's a good question, right? I mean, I've worked on a ton of movies. I think this is probably like the 40th feature that I've been involved with, whether it's as a, done some editing or production managing or line producing or just straight up produced. The biggest thing that surprised me about the process on this film, particularly was shooting during a pandemic. That was really intense. Having to kind of figure out a way to do things without having your normal next steps, right? So, there were some elements that were in the script. It was physically impossible. We couldn't shoot them. We couldn't get to that location, which, I mean, it pains me. I don't want to talk about them because it's just going to, whatever. But that was the biggest obstacle, was kind of like navigating, getting things done, and really having to like find a way to do it. Well, how am I to do it? Well, I don't know. Let's get the tractor out here and cut down some more of the field, and we'll create this and just kind of make it. And that aspect of it was a lot of fun because we didn't have the normal, resources that you would have. I mean, some people just weren't willing to work during a pandemic as well. So there were those things.
And let's see. Charles K says, I'll try to watch the film later today. Got me interested.
Great.
That's
Enjoy.
cool.
Yeah, sure. I think there was some. Oh wait.
Another question here. Solomon,
sure. I can tell you 100% the dream film I would want to direct.
Yeah. What is the dream film you'd like to direct?
I would like to direct the actual book Running Man.
Oh, okay. Because the book version is so different than the
Completely
I mean, like
animal.
completely
100%.
different. Yeah, I know that story. I haven't read it, but I've heard people talk about the book and the differences, how much the book is so dramatically
Dark.
different. Yeah,
So dark.
it's so dark and horrific, and yeah. Well, you could do that. You should do that, because I'd love to see that for sure.
I mean, that would be a reach, but yeah, I would love to direct The Running Man. I mean, that's a great book. I remember getting turned on to that years ago, and reading it, comparing it to what was made. There was a lot of. It was a very different movie.
Just retitle it and do it. No one knows.
Yeah, I don't know even how you would go about it, but yeah, that's a good.
The skipping dude, maybe. All right.
And a good last question here from Charles K says, "Are you working on a current project, another project right now?"
Yeah, I am actually. We're getting super close to getting going. I'm going to be shooting back east. I can't really talk about the specifics of it, but I'm really excited about the film. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's something that I wrote with Sean together, and yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited about it.
Cool. Well, Emerson Moore, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat livecast this morning. Congratulations on the film. Escape the Field is out and available now. The trailer is in the description of this episode, so you can watch the trailer or look it up on YouTube. And congrats again, and thank you for entertaining and terrifying me. I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay, great. Have a great afternoon. Take care.
All right.
Thanks. Later. Bye-bye.
I mean,
that was awesome.
I definitely got
awesome.
Lost vibes when I watched it.
Yeah, no, I did as well. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
There's some chat questions here. CD Stein 69 for $4.99 says, Ethan Hawke has become such a versatile actor. He used to be a one-trick pony for most of his early career, but has really broadened his range. I mean, look, talking about referencing Ethan Hawke in The Black Phone. He's in Moon Knight. He was in The Northman. He's in this, and all very different characters. So, I think he's fantastic. So, yeah, I'm all about like whatever's he's doing now, because obviously he's interested in doing something different. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
$4.99.
Just came back to Escape the Field. It's on Blu-ray, DVD, and on-demand platforms. I watch it on Vudu myself.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, nice. Good. Well, we have another special guest that's going to be joining us soon, which is the screenwriter David Earl and producer Rupert Manjendie from Brian and Charles, which also opened today. But maybe we can talk a little bit about Brian and Charles before we even get to that. I saw it last night. It's super entertaining. It's about a guy, this sort of awkward British guy who, what he decides to do, he's an inventor, and he invents all sorts of weird, mostly useless things, just like any sort of nutty professor, right? Like just completely useless items that he's creating or inventing. And something compels him to build his own robot. So he builds a robot. You can see kind of a picture of it there. And you can check. It's like this weird sort of like boxy, robot creature. And he just builds it as a way to kind of have a friend, or a friend he didn't realize he needed. And it's about the misadventures of. Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a review on filmthreat.com.
We reviewed it from Sundance, and so I posted it this morning.
Nice. So this is what the robot looks like. It's bizarre, but the movie's out in theaters today. It's weird, delightful. It's, part Pinocchio, a little bit of that going on. It's, the robot begins to have his own wants and needs, so that he wants to have an adventure and see the world. And then there's some bullying that's involved in this of the robot. It's fun. It's an awkward comedy, and I mean this in the best way. The sort of like the best British comedies where the comedy is just like not like in your face or hit you over the head. It's this sort of subtleness, and I think the cast is what really makes it too. Alan, what did you think of Brian and Charles?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I only know of the review we did. But it looks very quirky. It looks very light and fun as well.
It's quirky, light, fun, weird. It's also what I really enjoyed about it too is that it's a movie that you like an indie filmmaker, if you're creative and you're like, I don't have a big budget or tons of money. Okay, but you can do this. I mean, literally the setting is, it's not like it's set in the room, right? Like he has like this farmhouse and there's like, it's the British countryside is where this all takes place. There's a lot of different locations, but he just makes the robot and it looks really handmade. Like he just uses stuff from around the house to physically make this robot out of just like stuff laying around. And it's weird. The actual design of the robot, Charles, is just weird. It's like it's sort of centered around this big box. And then what's weird is like there's scenes where they're going to bed and he has this like Terminator eye that like can't turn off. And so they're trying to sleep in the same room in separate beds. And what's funny is you see Charles the robot dressed in pajamas. So literally it's like he got dressed in pajamas to go to bed, which in this sort of robot outfit, right? Or the robot creature as it looks. And
so is it low budget data from Star Trek or?
No, I don't think it's low budget. It's just, it's very on purpose design and which is part of the comedy. I mean, it is a pure British comedy, right? And I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited to talk to the screenwriter and producer. And Scott F says British comedy is the best. Yeah, we're bringing on the filmmakers in about 5 minutes. But yeah, no, British comedy is not. Oh, Patrick Lemire. I saw Brian and Charles trailer at the theater. It reminds me of Frank with Michael Fassbender in tone. Yeah, Frank with Michael Fassbender, where he basically wears like this, weird, like head thing for the whole movie, and he's Frank. And there, it definitely has that kind of vibe where people just accept the fact that this robot is a robot and can do like all these things. And he speaks in kind of a synthesized voice. So yeah, no, the Brian and Charles trailer, strongly recommend. I think there's a link to the Brian and Charles trailer in the description of this episode. So check that out. But it is opening in theaters today. I don't think it's on VOD yet, right, Alan?
No, it's in theaters.
In theaters only today. So I'm happy to be able to we're going to talk to the filmmakers in just a few minutes. So.
Do you remember the movie Heart Beeps with Andy Kaufman and Bernadette Peters?
Yes, I remember that movie, and it is weird. It has a little. It's not vibes of that, right? Heart Beeps was the production design on Heart Beeps was like way over the top, like colorful and kind of over designed. What I like about this is the sort of, the homemade aspect of it. So. Let's go to, let's see. Oh, Scud X for $10. Somehow the super chat didn't go through. Like the $10 came through, but the chat didn't come through. So let's do this. Scud X saw RRR a few weeks ago and keep thinking about the friendship montage and smiling because it was like a classic Simpsons bit played completely straight, earnestly charming, fun. Yeah.
And it all culminated to a big dance number.
It did. So Scud X, thank you for that. And, we appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I know RRR keeps coming up in our conversations. I'm just a little frustrated that, more people I know that talk about film are not talking about this movie. But yeah, British comedy is the best, Scott F. Like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I would say not like, well, I mean, it's interesting because there's sort of this inventor aspect of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And the Toot Sweet, which is the whistle pop. They actually, I don't know, do they still make whistle pops?
I haven't seen one in a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they do, but like that was one of the cool aspects of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is the inventor aspect of that.
We did come across candy cigarettes.
I
They
loved
still make
candy
those.
cigarettes growing up as a kid. I love them. But before we get started here, I want to remind you to smash that like button. We have over 300 people watching live right now. So smash the like button and post your questions for Brian and Charles screenwriter David Earl and producer Rupert Manjendie. They're going to be joining us very shortly here. So get ready with your questions. We will get to that. And wait, they're here. Let me welcome them to the show. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
David, Rupert,
Hello.
I'm Chris Gore, and this is Alan Ng, my colleague at Film Thread here. Great to meet you.
And you.
And you, thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is awesome. We're going to get to questions from our chat because I have a lot of people watching. I got to ask you, I saw the movie last night in the theater. People loved it. They thought it was delightful, incredibly creative. The friendship is awesome between the two of them, and the design is so cool, the sort of homemade design. How did you come up with this project? What inspired it?
This is a long.
Yeah, it's
This
good
is-
though.
this is-
I like.
Let's hear it.
It's quite a long
People are
anecdote.
interested. Yeah, that's
So-
why I set it up.
Okay. If you get bored, just say I'm getting bored. I've been doing stand up as Brian in the UK for about 10 years, and the character in the stand up clubs was like the world's worst stand up comedian. So I'd go on and purposefully tell bad jokes, and to varying degrees of success. Some nights it would go really well, people were on board, and other nights I'd be the most hated person in the venue.
And that's how we met, isn't it? I run some gigs in London, and David as Brian did my second ever show, and I just loved the character and sort of.
You fell in love with me.
I fell in love with him, yeah, on and off stage.
Yeah.
And then I just offered him a residency, and he did that for about 5 years, every month.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the beginning of our relationship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Over to you.
And then I started an internet radio show. And so Brian on this was like the world's worst phone-in host. So people would Skype in, and I'd struggle to, as Brian had struggled to have a conversation with them. And then one night, Rupert rang up, but he was a bit too shy to talk. So he used this voice software, which was Charles, and the relationship developed there over Skype.
It was like a weekly show, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
he became a bit of a regular amongst a lot of other people. And then we were like, oh, we should do this live. It's really fun.
Yeah, well, Chris, who's in Charles in the movie, who's in the box, he was listening to the radio show and thought, I want to bring Charles to life. So he built him over a weekend or 45 minutes, however long it took. And then we did some live shows as Brian and Charles, with Rupert at the back voicing Charles. Yeah, and then it was kind of running out of steam, and we thought, well, we just want to sort of immortalize the characters and put them on YouTube, and then move on to the next project. And then people seem to like it. So yeah.
So that helped with the development of the characters, and the characters, like, it's a very character-driven story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that's what indie film, I think, does best, is character-driven stories. What went into the design? Your friend who designed Charles, like, it's such a ridiculous, we were talking earlier before you came on, like the sort of box design of the the torso, and when they go to bed and he has pajamas over the box, I just like burst out laughing. It's just so ridiculous and over the top, and also homemade and charming. So what went into the design?
Well, I think Chris, he wanted to make something cumbersome for the live show, something that was big, and just looked visually fun on stage. So he's like over 7 feet tall. So Chris is in this cardboard box, and he used a litter picker, attached that to the head. So he's in there, sort of controlling the mouth with the.
He's the new Andy Serkis.
And,
that's about it, though, isn't it? Really?
That's about it. But when we did the short, we really liked. Well, I think we did. We all agreed that we sort of liked that you could see there was a guy in there, and it was just human legs. So we quite like the cheeky side of that, where the audience might think, "Hang on a minute, this is the bloke in that." Yeah.
And when we did the feature, we were like, oh, should we like jazz him up and do a big upgrade? But apart from like covering up the humanness of his legs, I don't think we did much more really.
No.
From what existed before.
Well, the results are obviously so entertaining. We've got a lot of people in the chat that have comments and questions. If you don't mind going to that right now.
Sure.
Go for it.
Are they nice questions?
They're nice questions. Michael Sigrid says, I saw the preview for Brian and Charles at Top Gun Maverick, and it stands out far above commercial rubbish.
Ooh.
I will make it a point to see it. There you go. British
Wow, with Top Gun Maverick, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see that this afternoon.
Charles K says, British humor is the best.
Oh.
So, yeah. And then here we go. Shelby AC says, I just saw the trailer for this the other day. Can't wait to see it. ! I was so struck by how original it looks. Very cool. There you go. And then Scott F says, what got you into writing?
What got me into writing? God, I don't know. Pay the bills, really. So, I mean, when we were given, I'd never thought about writing a film before. It always felt like something someone else did. It felt like an untouchable thing. And then Film 4 approached us.
Yeah, they saw the short and they got in touch and they were like, we hadn't really even thought about it. They're like, have you thought about this as a feature film? We were like, no.
Yeah.
But Ollie Madden over there said, well, let's do a script and explore it. So, yeah. I mean, you'd written before that. That wasn't your first.
No, yeah, I had done like a sitcom or two. And but I'd never, when we first sat down, I thought, thinking about getting from page 1 to page 90 or whatever. I was just like, oh my God, how do you do that? And I was just really worried about how do you keep an audience entertained for more than 12 minutes? And so that was a big challenge and a huge puzzle to solve. Yeah.
I have to ask you about the character Brian. You talked about how it, I think it's difficult to create a character for a stand-up gig. What was kind of the in with the audience with that, and how did you kind of develop that?
How did I develop well, I mean, originally the character I came up with was a little video diary I did in my flat, and originally the character was a guy that would drive around music festivals and suck all the sewerage out of the toilets and then go.
His backstory.
Yes, that was his backstory. But then I off the back of doing a short film, Ricky Gervais saw it, and I gained an agent, and they said you need to get yourself out there and do some stand up. So I kind of thought, I'm not great at writing traditional jokes, so but hopefully I can go on stage and make people uneasy for 20 minutes. So that was, and it always just felt a bit naughty doing that in a stand up club. So yeah.
Zach says that robot looks better than anything in Kenobi. So, wow. I don't know. It's just wow. There you go. Eric Douglas, what part of London are you guys from?
I'm from East London, a place called Clapton, in Hackney. But
I live in Devon, so that's southwest England on the way to Cornwall in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Like Brian.
Yeah.
Question here from Akanika. What about location scouting? It's at least from what I see, it's the British countryside, but it's absolutely beautiful. That setting is amazing.
Yeah, it's all in and around North Wales. When we shot the short, we just booked an Airbnb up there, sort of, and that ended up being sort of 20 minutes up the road, a lot of the stuff where we shot. But it was mainly Jim Archer, the director, he would just go off on these like long weekends and sort of drive around and find the perfect spot. And our location manager, Julia, sort of joined him, and yeah, it was just literally just driving around trying to find, Brian's house, the lake, all that sort. He had a sort of tick list, and yeah, sort of spot for choice really out there.
Someone just says, hey, Solomon Thornton, get these guys in charge of Doctor Who. So there you go.
Yeah. God, that would go downhill fast, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a lightning rod you want
to This might be an uncomfortable question, but Patrick Lemire is going to ask it. Without being too specific, what kind of budget were you on? People have in their mind a certain type of film budget. It's inspiring to see something fresh that didn't have a big budget. I'll just say the budget probably wasn't like a Terminator movie, right?
Just under.
Just under.
All the money on screen. I guess you could say it's under 2 million.
Oh, well, I just think that also like having a lower budget forces you to be more creative, and then you end up with something that's so entertaining and surprising. So
yeah, I think that's what the short was like. We only shot it with about 4 crew or whatever. So, we tried to sort of keep the lo-fi approach to production going into the feature as well, which is helped by budget.
Shelby AC asks, how do you like doing live shows versus longer form scripted stuff? Is there one you like better?
Yeah, I enjoy the scripted stuff. I find both very stressful.
You find it embarrassing, I think.
Yeah, I find it all a bit embarrassing, really. But I find doing live shows is so unpredictable when you get on stage, and you just never know if you're going to get a bottle thrown at you, or if someone might giggle. Or I prefer doing the scripted stuff, but
why? Because no one's going to throw a bottle at you.
Well, it's less likely. Yeah, but I nearly pulled out of the film, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Like a month before, he got the wobbles.
Yeah, I got the wobbles.
Oh no. Cooper asks, what comedy influences did you channel?
Well, one of the main film references was American Movie, documentary about the filmmaker Mark Borchardt, which I absolutely adore, and that little comedy duo. Well, they're not comedy duo, just the little friendship in the center of it. I mean, Ricky in The Office was a big influence for me.
Neil Hamburger, were you a fan of his?
Yeah, Neil Hamburger. There's a UK comedian called Harry Hill who I've absolutely adored and he was my sort of inspiration to get into comedy. And yeah, what about you? Me?
Yeah, you.
Quick comment here from Michael Seagriff. 2 million, no worries. We will drive your film into profitability in no time, lad.
Oh,
thanks, Michael.
I love
That's
you,
really
Michael.
reassuring.
That's great. Flaccid Phoenix has a question here. What was your favorite shot to shoot in this movie? Do you have a favorite shot?
A shot. Well, my favorite scene is just them boiling cabbages in the kitchen. I really enjoy just them doing the mundane jobs around the house. So that scene, just sort of before Charles starts dancing, I'm like, I think I could watch them make cabbages or boil cabbages for about an hour. It should have been that, really.
That's the next one.
That's Brian and Charles 2. Yeah.
And Solomon Thornton asks, really unique and creative. What other films do you guys want to create?
Well, I'm really keen to. Well, come on, you.
No, we'd love to do another Brian and Charles. We feel like that the world we've created is, warrants going back to. Just lots more comedies, but ultimately working, like we did with our friends and being very collaborative, really. But yeah, more comedy with a bit of heart.
I always sort of keen to, like with Brian and Charles, we sort of had Wallace and Gromit in mind, and like a live action Pixar. So I'm keen to just try and do something that's accessible for all the family with a little bit of magic involved. Yeah.
Comment from All Twisted Up. American Movie is great. I mean, I didn't recognize it, but now that you mention it, now I see the influence from it, the slight influence, because there's a bit of a mockumentary aspect to it, talking to the camera.
Sort of following an obsessive
as something unfolds.
Unfolds. Yeah.
Well, why isn't there a movie, that's almost like American, like there's so many movies with the word American at the beginning of the title. I think part of that is because it starts with the letter A. Why isn't there a movie called British Movie?
It's a good idea. Maybe that's the next film.
Yeah.
British Movie.
Yeah.
More comments. Scott Slaughterbeck said, these guys are really funny. This film must be good. On my list. There you go. And then
that was my mum.
Al Favor for $10 says, American entertainment is trash at the moment. I find myself retreating to Faulty Towers, An Idiot Abroad, Shaun of the Dead, etc. to have fun. This looks like it would fit in perfectly. There
I went to see. I live near the Faulty Towers Hotel,
Oh wow.
So
Is it still
it's
a
no, it's
hotel?
been knocked
The
down.
fatty owl or the
Yeah. So it's been knocked down now, and they've just put a block of flats up. But I dragged my family there, and we sat outside in the car for like 10 minutes.
What a great
And Giles Ducranair, I know I pronounced that incorrectly, for $6.99 says David Earl loved you in Derek. We'll definitely see the film. I know my name is hard to pronounce. No worries. Sorry, Giles. Tell us about Derek.
That was the first kind of big thing I did. Ricky just rang me up and said, "Look, I'm filming this thing in the end of the year. Do you want to? I'll give you a part." I was like, "Oh my god!" And we had so much fun with Carl and Ricky, and so much space to improvise and play. And I owe him quite a lot. Whenever because he always backed me in the early days, and whenever I had a bad gig in the club, I'd sort of had Ricky's voice in my ear going, "Don't worry, keep going."
Equally, didn't he? Were you his support act, weren't you? And he would just bring you on for entertainment.
Yeah.
Does he know that you tank or whatever?
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Question from Patrick Lemire: how many Charles did you have as a backup?
I think we only had the one body, but we had 4 heads. But they were all like weird, varied colors because we bought the one for a short on eBay, or Chris bought it on eBay, and then Jim, the direct, when we were doing the feature, panicked and bought like 6 of them on eBay, but they were all like different colors. So yeah, there was a lot of heads, but no backup bodies.
All Twisted Up says, will Brian and Charles be hitting any streaming services? I think it's just in America, just in theaters currently.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I think there is that will happen. Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, it's Focus Features is putting it out.
Yeah.
And they do a pretty good job of getting it out there after the theatrical run.
Yeah.
So it'll turn up on a streaming service eventually. Dempsey says, if you could work with any person, alive or dead, who would each of you pick? Okay.
Hard one. I'm just going to the dead person for some reason.
Oh man, I don't know. It's too. I can't think on my feet. Sorry.
It's okay. CD Stein 69 says, perfect idea for Brian and Charles 2 road trip on Route 66 for holiday. Then on the back roads of America would be incredibly entertaining. I mean, not to be spoilery, but there's room for a sequel.
I mean, I'd love to see the most boring road trip in the world and just see them.
Just have one shot like a
Route 66 could be a good one then.
Yeah,
That's great.
eating snacks, nothing really happening.
They could end up in Vegas.
Yeah.
Flaccid Phoenix asks, what is your dream project to work on in the future?
I want to be a voice on a Pixar movie.
There you
go. And I want to meet Steven Spielberg. I'll die a happy man then.
Yeah. Patrick Lemire, just to remind people, this movie is in theaters, says AMC and Regal are dedicating screens to Brian and Charles a decent amount. I saw it at my AMC Burbank 16 last night with a crowd, and they all loved it.
How did it go?
It's at my local AMC as well. So.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Just to let people know. And then this is, I don't know if I understand this question necessarily. Derek Douglas asks, Jaws is a perfect example of that. Spielberg had to create rather than just say, that's what I want. Like,
I think the robot design is what he's
the
talking
robot
about.
design. Yeah. I love the design of the robot. I think it's so, are you going to put when it comes out on Blu-ray or DVD, will the short be included on the DVD?
Yeah, I'm sure we can look into that. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. And then
you were saying yesterday that the jaws kept breaking in the film. Is that you saying that? We never had that with Charles.
We went to the Universal
lot yesterday
and had a little trip round and
saw Jaws.
Wait,
and Spielberg's office.
I really wanted to knock on there.
We put a flyer under his door.
Yeah, and he just pushed it back.
Nate Winchester, as someone who has done a robot in little productions before, you didn't have any problems with overheating, did you?
No, there was no mechanics to it, but and also we were in North Wales in like deep winter, so Chris was the warmest one in there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Hiding in his little box. But I don't think he was hot. No.
And Nate goes on to say, hey, he does look like he could be Spielberg's stunt double.
Oh God, yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glasses.
Yeah, maybe we'd really get on.
Yeah.
Yeah, who does he look like?
And then Not the Batman says, hey, they can go to the world's biggest ball of twine. We have a lot of weird tourist attractions in the United States.
Are you saying this for the road movie?
Yeah, for the sequel. Shelby AC asks, she asks, any advice for creative people? Sometimes I find it hard to be really fearless and worry too much.
You're talking to the right guy. No, I'm exactly the same. Oh my God.
I don't think you should worry too much, though.
How do you do that?
I don't know. I think you just got to do it. You just got to go for it. That's the same with the short, really. We couldn't get that made, so we just did it ourselves, and you put it out. You just never know.
I heard a great quote from Peter Gabriel.
Go on.
And he said, use your enthusiasm as your compass. I think that's lovely.
Yeah, that is lovely.
So, whatever you're into, just follow that, and hopefully something will come. That was a really nice moment, actually.
It's lovely. End of interview. I'm going to start crying.
Nate Winchester asked, might the DVD include any of your live shows with Charles as well? Or is there any way to find them? Are they on YouTube?
There's a couple of on YouTube. We used to do a game show with Brian and Charles called Challenged. There's a bit on there where we recreated a scene with Paddy Considine from Dead Man's Shoes. So there's a bit of live stuff on there. We've also got a video which we'll probably publish online of the first time Charles met you on stage, like when the first time he was unveiled.
Yeah.
Just
in the back of a pub.
Yeah, upstairs in a pub.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a bit out there.
And Patrick Lemire has a comment here. Give I'm Alan Partridge a try. It's very Midlands focused as opposed to London.
Yeah, we'll set in Norfolk.
Well, you work with him?
Yeah, he's my boss, Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And last question here from the chat. Dempsey, how has filmmaking scene changed since you started in the industry?
Well,
we've only been here 5 minutes.
I think it's changed a lot. Yeah.
The last 10 mins. No, I mean we've literally just joined it. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys, David and Rupert, for coming on the Film Threat Livecast today. Hundreds of people watching. Want to say go see Brian and Charles. You will have a great time at the movies. And thank you for joining us. I'm dying to see the short film now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final words for everyone here?
Just thanks for being kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're quite vulnerable.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
All right, take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. Congratulations on the movie, and see it in a theater with an audience. And if you guys are in town, you should go check it out with a live audience. I think you'll love it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Awesome. Oh my God, they were great.
Yeah, I have to say, as far as indies go, you need to see it this week. If you're gonna watch this movie, do it this week. Give it support.
Yeah,
maybe if we all did it, it'll extend itself a few more weeks and maybe open up in more theaters as well.
Well, I just think that, like, I know Kevin Rubio kicked things off in a downer way at the very big top of the show, saying you guys are so negative. No, we're trying to get people to watch the show because yes, there's negativity, but I feel like you need to balance that with, like, hey, there's stuff at the movies that you may not like. There are all sorts of other options. That's where basically, I, as they say, white pill myself, is I'll just say, you know what? I am encouraged by the fact that while, the mainstream movies are hit and miss these days, and more often miss than hit, that's for sure. We're not always getting, say, a Top Gun, right? There are other choices out there. And Buzz Lightyear for our conversation earlier, yeah, there's a thing. It has that sort of moment, like in the middle of Batman, where you're like, why do we need this? What is this for? Who are you trying to placate? What is your dog doing in the background, Alan?
If she starts licking herself, then
yeah, you might have to change that. Well, let's go to some quick comments before we wrap things up today. Patrick Lemire says Charles is a reverse fun. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that's true.
About that. Oh, I'm sorry I missed your comment while they were on here, but look, it's what we're trying to do is bring filmmakers to you so you can have direct access to them, which is great. Scott Slaughterbeck says great interview. That's awesome. And Deano for $1.99. Wait, 199 pounds. says super stick, sends us a super sticker. So that's good.
I wish that he would let us show it on here, but they won't.
Yeah, well, we're still figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
We'll get good at YouTube one day. Dempsey says honesty is a good thing. If the movie is bad, say so. That isn't being negative. It is being critical and or just honest. Exactly. Like I feel like with like the Kenobi series, and someone made a comment that the Red Letter Media review is up and I'm dying to watch it. So I'll definitely watch that later. But it's you look at that kind of stuff, we have to critique it. Half the fun is critiquing it. Right?
And I think we're trying to be beyond just hating it for the sake of hating it. There are reasons to really hate this. And I didn't go into Kenobi wanting to hate it. I wanted to actually like it and feel like maybe Star Wars is on the right direction, which it's not.
Right. Well, what can you do? And Zach says, did you see Alan perk up when they said Pixar?
Cha-ching.
Stop it. Look, I feel like this is not a bad thing. Alan, I think any of us, this goes for anybody. You can be predisposed to like something because you just like that thing. Like I like Tom Cruise as an actor. I'm going to see every Mission Impossible movie. I'm going to get the box set, whatever it is. I'm predisposed to like a certain type of movie. I like low budget, schlock exploitation movies that are made by Full Moon Entertainment or Troma. You can be predisposed to like stuff. That's cool. And then you kind of find, with the people that you follow, whether it's on YouTube or social media or writers, you go like, well, this person kind of has my taste, which is fine. And that's okay. Derek Douglas, we'll go to some comments here before we wrap up. Chris, it's only in America you can get that chance. Independent movies don't get this anywhere else. Not necessarily. There are independent film, industries, so to speak, in other countries. But yeah, in America, you can this is what's great about this country. You can decide you want to do something and then just go do that thing. So you can just make a movie, you can write a book, you can write a comic book, you can make an indie video game, you can start a channel like Film Threat, you can go start your own channel like Flaccid Phoenix started his channel. So yeah, like I think that part of the American spirit is a sense of independence, that anything is possible and I can do whatever I want. And I love that. And somehow I think we're losing that, or there is a very much a dark sensibility coming from a younger generation that tends to look for excuses for why they haven't reached a goal, when it's really just laziness, in my opinion. In order to really reach a goal, you just have to because here's I'll explain it really briefly. You don't just write a book. You don't make a movie. You don't do a comic book. You do a little bit every day. You don't just get in shape. You don't get in shape the first day you exercise. You might be in shape 6 months later, but that's 6 months of going to the gym or exercising on your own, 30 minutes, 60 minutes a day, every other day for 3 to 6 months. And the same with a book. You don't write a book, you write a portion. So you write 500 words. You write 500 words a day for 2 months. You're going to have 60,000 words? And 60,000, no, write 1,000 words a day. You'll have 60,000 words, and do easier math for myself.
Well, I think to your point, I think the younger generation expects opportunities to be handed to them as opposed to earning those opportunities. And I feel like Kenobi is one of those examples where, here's a guy who can write, and let's just give him, one of the most iconic characters in Star Wars, and let this guy write the series.
JC says, far too often it's more like, quote, don't be negative about something I'm identified with because it hurts my little feelings, end quote. Yeah, JC, I agree with it. It's like if you dislike something that I really like, I don't care. It's okay. I don't think you're being negative. I think you have your own biases and your own taste. Some people don't like butterscotch. I think they're crazy. Or caramel. Wait, who doesn't like those things though? But most people like those things. That's a bad example. I'm just saying some people don't like, the Toxic Avenger movies. That's fine. You're not negating my love of something. And I don't feel offended if you don't like something that I love. It's fine. I'm throwing out suggestions. You might see Brian and Charles and you might not like it. That's okay too. I happen to like British comedy. I grew up watching Monty Python, Faulty Towers. I love the British version of The Office. British comedy is like a genre unto itself. So there you go. Solomon Thornton says, Hollywood used to be about passion. And as a young man from this generation, I am ashamed that many people from this generation always has to push politics and they're entitled. I agree. Like, take that out of it. Tell me a story. And also, by the way, we didn't even mention it. There is nothing woke about Brian and Charles. There's no agenda pushing. There's no message about it's okay to be gay. Like, it's just a story about a guy who builds a robot who becomes his friend and then has his own needs and desires in the world. That's it. Anyone can relate to that. It's not about if the robot is gay or the robot wants to have a baby and can't get a robot abortion. All right, let me.
The black phone isn't woke for
the black phone isn't woke at all. I mean, it's freaking terrifying, but there you go. Want biscuits. That's true, Chris. I used to write screenplays as a hobby. You write parts here, parts there, work it together like Play-Doh or Legos, deconstructed approach. Absolutely. It's a piece a day. It's a little a day. It's all about, and to me, it's all about building good habits. It's about building good habits and habits that work towards your goal. You know, I used to use social media quite a bit. I was definitely addicted. I use it far less. I think I've tweeted once this month, and then I'll retweet things from Film Thread. I specifically use social media to promote my stuff. On occasion, I'll try to say what I think something that I think some people might respond to, but I very rarely use social media. And I used to post a lot on Facebook. And I say, why am I doing this? I'm writing a 500-word essay for Facebook. What do I get out of it? I'm not getting paid. I'm not going to win this argument. I'm wasting my time. So I really cut my social media. It's like a smoker. Like, I'm like, okay, I will have a cigarette every once in a while or have a social post every once in a while, but it's not going to be something I think about on a daily basis. So
speaking of Want Biscuit, I did an interview with Stephen Merchant, and he gives amazing advice with what you can do with that screenplay, your hobby screenplay.
Want Biscuits, search the Film Threat YouTube channel. Alan did an amazing interview with Stephen Merchant. We should probably break it up a little bit.
Yeah, we will when Outlaws season 2 comes out.
But I wanted to say, Not the Batman is a great comment here. It's okay to be a robot. That's the agenda that Brian and Charles is pushing. Darn it.
It's a slippery slope. It starts right there.
Sean Hu, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sean Hu. Well, thank you. Alan, you had to tell me the pronunciation of your name, and I always have to tell people that as well. Sean Hu says directors and producers should listen to negative feedback to help them make future projects better. There you go. And check out Flaccid Phoenix's channel. He is better at math than Chris and funny. First of all, almost everyone's better at math than me. I use a calculator. I use my phone calculator. It's very useful. But I want to say thank you for spending your Friday morning and or afternoon with us today, and or evening, depending on where you are in the world. So I want to thank you for that. Next week, we're going to be talking about, on Wednesday, we're talking about the final episode 6 of Kenobi. We'll be talking about that next Wednesday afternoon. It's going to be a packed show. And then next Friday, we're going to be talking about whatever movie's open. We're probably going to talk about The Black Phone again, because I'd like to do a spoiler review after you have had an opportunity to see it. Couple quick more chats coming in. Darius Munchausen, $1.49 super sticker. Thank you for that. We're going to make some cool super stickers.
Love
Scott
that icon.
Slaughterbeck. First of all, I agree with Scott Slaughterbeck. Alan is a tough name to pronounce.
Yeah, no one can spell my first name, and no one can actually pronounce my last name. So
that's okay. But I'm excited because after Kenobi in the coming weeks, we're going to announce it as an event. We are going to be doing a new show. It's a new show, and it's called Critics Court. And in Critics Court, we will take companies to task and put them on trial. And how it's going to work is something like a courtroom, and we're going to have specific charges leveled against said company. And our first one is going to be the murder of the Star Wars franchise. and we're going to bring on special guests who will argue a specific point, a very specific charge. We're going to have probably 10 or 12 different charges. We're going to announce them at the top of the trial, and each episode we're going to bring someone on to argue. They'll be like day 1, day 2, day 3 of the trial. That's how it's going to work. They're not necessarily going to be in consecutive days. We'll probably do 2 to 3 episodes a week. And there you go. So Derek Douglas, are you doing the trial? Awesome. Yeah, I just said we're doing the trial. So
do we have a defense for Lucasfilms here?
We're going to reach out to people for the defense, but first we're doing the prosecution, and we will have people come on and we're going to defend, and then we're going to have both people on to debate.
All right.
I can't wait. So Disney better hire Depp's lawyers. There you go. Alan, you tease. I wanted to hear more about Merchant's Advice. Well, you can watch the video.
It's a great interview. It's a half an hour long.
I don't want to hear Alan tell me what Stephen
He gave me 30 minutes to talk to him, and it's all there.
It's awesome. CD Stein 69 for $9.99. I always love to say that. Exactly, Chris. Write a damn good story and the interest will come. Nowadays, movies, comics, music, or TV seem to always have to consider all the diversity additions instead of tell great stories. That is a mind virus that has permeated everything, and it has not led to great entertainment. And Alan, you were talking before we even started the live stream. You were talking with Flaccid Phoenix, and thank you to Flaccid Phoenix for modding and everything to help produce this show. But you guys were having a great conversation. What is it exactly? I came in the middle of it and I was like, oh, what were you saying?
I forgot because then you put up a video of me and my naked body and plungers. What were we talking about?
You were talking about this very issue, about just like agenda trumping story.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're talking about. I'm sorry.
All right, there you go.
Alan, 3 hours ago.
Alan needs to eat. I need to eat. I'm so happy we've been building this audience. We would get like 10, 20 people watching us, 50 people watching us. Now we're like, when we reached north of 100, we were so excited. Now on Fridays, we're getting like 300 more people. On our Wednesday show earlier this week, we had over 1,000 people watching live. We're building, and I really hope that you'll be along for the ride for us, because we want to continue our mission to tell you about movies that are worth checking out, which, are beyond your mainstream Hollywood stuff. So thank you to everyone for sticking with us. We'll be back next Wednesday. Flaccid Phoenix asks, fine, give us the nipples. Give us the nipples. Should I give it? Wait, let me see if I click on the right video here. I know we've got a bunch of, wait. Well, okay, I'll give it a try. Oh, no. It's great. That wasn't it.
Are you ready for this, Alan?
And with that, we're gonna. Oh wait, okay. Some quick questions, quick super chats here. We're gonna get to £2 from Diana. Will the chat get to be the jury? Absolutely. The chat is going to be the jury of this trial. We are going to present both sides, but we're going to present what the charges are, why the franchise is dead, who is responsible, and each person that comes on will be asked to present evidence. So they'll be sharing screen with evidence. We're going to show videos. We're going to show you social media posts. It's going to be pretty amazing. Ken Bogus for $5. Just really love this channel. I try not to give to channels, but I made an exception for this channel because it's awesome. Thank you, Ken Bogus. And thank you for that support. We're looking forward to this trial. I'm looking forward to you being a part of it. The chat will be the jury. There will be a result. We'll have little spin-off highlights from the trial, and we're going to have some pretty amazing special guests. I don't want to say who, but people that you know. And with that, Alan, what do we like to say?
Let's get out of here.